Today, on a unique all-new Dr. Phil. They say true love comes once in a lifetime.
Chad and I first met after both joining the Marine Corps. It was an instant click.
And vowed nothing would come between them.
No matter what, I'll always wait for you.
But duty called.
There were bombs going off in the night. He never knew if he was going to wake up.
And shattered their love forever.
The person I was in love with died. He was dead to me, and he was never coming back.
But sometimes true love happens twice.
I just asked her if she'll marry me. She said yes instantly without hesitation. I thought she would move on and we're gonna live happily ever after.
And then...
Hello? I heard his voice on the phone. The love of my life was resurrected.
A true story.
I've never stopped loving Chad.
Torn between two husbands.
You got two great guys in a tug-of-war over you. That can be intoxicating.
That is not intoxicating. It's devastating.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I think you need to do. You need to... Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go.
Stand by, camera set. If you're going to talk to me, you're going to have to be honest.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
Showtime. This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by, A, and rolling. Check in. Go.
A letter came to me from a woman in love with two different husbands. Now, let me explain. Her first love is a soldier, Chad. He went away to Iraq, and he came back a changed man. Devastated and heartbroken, Orlena decided that she just is going to have to try to move on. And that's when she met and married Brent, her high school crush, who she describes as an amazing man. Then almost 2 months into their marriage, Chad calls to beg her to come back. Now, obviously, she is torn and doesn't know what to do or who to spend the rest of her life with. Take a look. We're going to see if we can unravel this.
I love my husband Brent very much, but my ex-husband wants me back. I've never stopped loving Chad. Is it possible to love two men at the same time?
I thought it would be wine and roses for the rest of my life. Boy, was I wrong. Chad has come into our marriage as a snake and just tried to destroy it.
Chad and I first met after both joining the Marine Corps. It was an instant click. Over the next 3.5 years, we were inseparable. After the next 1.5 years, we were both informed that he was going to be deployed to Iraq. As he left, I said, "I'll wait for you." I said, "No matter what, I'll always wait for you." Our plan was to get married when he got home from Iraq. I was totally naive about the severity of the emotional trauma it would cause. There were people dying next to him, bombs going off in the night and waking him up, and they never knew if they were going to wake up. When he returned from Iraq, Chad was completely unresponsive. Every day he was shutting me out. I felt like the love of my life died. The man that came home was a pig. He was unbelievably cruel to me. I was scared, and I left. And I didn't wait for him. When he needed me the most, I left. I served him with annulment papers. He signed the papers. I was just devastated. Everyone was pushing me to start dating and that was going to help. I was trying to move on. I opened my email one day. I get this email from Brent.
Why are you laughing?
Orlena and I went to high school together. I found her on the internet, and so I sent her an email. I said, "I want to see you."
Brent was my first crush, and I'm grieving the loss of my very first love. We started dating. He was so attentive, and instantly all these voids are being filled.
I just asked her if she'll marry me. She said yes instantly without hesitation.
Every day I was telling myself that I was over Chad. I knew I wasn't.
I think I pretended that she was over him more than she said she was.
I was at work and the phone rang and it was Chad. When I heard his voice on the phone, I started breathing hard. And he said, "I'll never forgive myself for what I've done. It was never your fault. And I'm sorry." I felt like the love of my life, my best friend, was resurrected. And he said, "Let me ask you a question. Do you still love me?" And I just started to cry a lot. And he knew. You know, inside I was dancing and crying. Wonderful, he loves you. Finally, he's back. You're married. So what?
After Orlena told Chad that we were married, he started flying off the handle saying, "I love you so much, I'll do anything to get you back still. Do you think about me when you kiss your husband? Do you think about me when you're with your husband?" The fact that she entertained his conversation enraged me.
I've got two wonderful men that desperately want to be with me, and there's no fair answer.
Lately, when I look into her eyes now, all I see is him.
What do I do? Go back to a man that made me all these promises that he broke? Or live with a man for 80 years and think of another man?
What do you think about now?
It's gut-wrenching. It's heartbreaking. There's not enough emotions to describe it. First thing, all I want to say is all I want to do is be with my wife. I love her so much.
Are you mad at Chad?
Yes.
And are you mad at Orlena?
Yes.
What do you think about this? What do you say to yourself in your most private moments when you're thinking about this?
That all my feelings are unfair. That it's unfair that I left Chad when I said I wouldn't, and it's unfair that I brought Brent into this when, you know, I made vows to both of them. I'm completely torn down the center.
When you sent him annulment papers, you didn't want him to sign them.
Oh, no.
You didn't want an annulment.
No.
You were just playing a game. You were trying to give him a wake-up call. You were trying to...
I was trying to do anything to get his attention. That's all I wanted.
And he called you bluff and signed them.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when you started talking to Brent, did you tell him that you were married?
Brent and I started talking via email, and I told him that I was in this long relationship. I didn't tell him that I was going through a divorce. And when the very first time we met for lunch, I said, "I know I told you I explained about this relationship, but I was not clear. We were actually married, and I'm in the middle of this divorce, and I wanted to say it to your face. I didn't want to say it over a letter."
Okay. Did you get out of your relationship with Chad before you were ready to?
Absolutely.
Did you get into this relationship with Brent before you were ready to?
Yes.
So you've got two half-finished situations that are both bubbling.
Yes.
At this point. What do you want her to do?
As difficult as it is to say, I want her to be happy. And I would like to believe that I'm the man that will make her happy forever. But if I'm not, then I guess the other alternative.
Why did you marry her?
I love her with all my heart, and I couldn't imagine living one day the rest of my life without her. And I wanted to believe that everything was perfect. She told me about Chad, and she eventually told me they were going through an annulment, and I guess I was blinded by not realizing that she was still in love with him because of how much affection and adoration she showed me. And when I asked her to marry me, she said yes instantly, and I thought marriage would change everything. I thought she would get over Chad, and she would move on, and we're going to live happily ever after.
What kind of husband has he been?
Wow. Initially, I would say flawless, amazing, supportive, creative, attentive. There's a million things I could say about him. I mean, he's just been wonderful. But as soon as this happened, and I came to him as softly as I could and said, "This is what happened, and this is how I'm feeling," and his reaction made me doubt everything that we had, because kind of the things that I was leaning on as far as our relationship, foundational things, his support and his self-sacrifice and the things that make me love him, instantly depended upon my behavior. So it made me very scared. Is this how he's going to handle any crisis. To me, this is just a phone call. This is just...
Well, let me just kind of chime in from a male point of view here. This isn't just any crisis. When your wife comes to you, however softly, and says, oh, by the way, I'm still in love with my ex-husband, that's going to kind of drive a wedge between some folks. I don't think it's fair to judge Brent in terms of how he's going to be in every crisis. I suspect every time you come and tell him you're in love with somebody else, he's going to be irritable. No, I mean, don't you, this is a whole different category, is what I'm saying. It doesn't predict how he's going to deal with other situations in the relationship.
I didn't come to him like, I had this phone call and I'm leaving you, or I have this phone call and I don't know who I want to be with. That's not how it happened. I came to him and I said very clearly, it's affecting me. I'm upset about it because I feel guilty about my previous relationship, but I want you to understand I'm right here.
All right, well, look, Chad is also here to try to work this out and tell his side of the story, and I'm glad he is. I'll tell you what we have here. We have three good, decent people all trying to find the right way out of an emotional maze. And we're just going to sit down and talk about this. We'll be right back.
Chad drove 2,300 miles to see a woman that was already married. All he wanted to do was do everything in his power to get her back. I believe that he's a snake and he's a coward.
It's not about him not being able to have me. Chad's always had me. In his mind, I'm his wife. Paperwork means nothing.
He came out, spent every day with her at work. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, they also went out to dinner and drinks. Those 3 days ripped me apart.
We're talking with Orlena and Brent, and they are stuck in sort of a love triangle here. And I don't mean that in some kind of illicit way. It is a very emotional situation. She had a short marriage to Chad, her first true love. He came back from Iraq, not the same man that she fell in love with. And I'm not making excuses for Chad, but he's been to war, and it does change a person. They got an annulment, and Orlena moved on and married Brent. 2 months later, Chad calls to say, I'm back, and I want you back. Now Orlena is confused and torn between her first and second husband. So I want to bring Chad out, and let's sit down and just have an adult conversation about that. Are you okay with that, Brent? Orlena, you're good with that? So Chad, why don't you come on out and join us? Chad, how you doing?
How you doing?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. This is a tough situation.
It is.
Tell me what happened when you came back from Iraq.
I treated her differently for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't put her as a priority in my life. Once we got married, she was perfect. And I neglected her. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I ruined it. So I don't feel like she left me. I think I left her, so she had no choice, you know?
And what awakened you? What caused you to say, wait a minute, this isn't how I want to be, this isn't what I want to do?
Well, sometimes it's sad to say, but you don't know what you have until it's gone.
She did move on. And
yes,
she is married to someone now. I mean, do you feel like you should respect that?
I've asked her on numerous occasions, does she want me to stop talking to her? I'll leave her alone.
What do you want him to do?
I don't know. I can't imagine picking up from what we have together and just leaving, but I can't bear the thought of never talking to Chad again. He's my best friend. He's my best friend for forever through the worst. So, and I will say, I feel like that perception, I know that that's definitely the perception that Brent has, like, why he knows you're married. He should respect that and back off.
How do you feel about that?
I realized what they had. I know they grew up together and experienced many things in the military that I'll never comprehend or never understand. And I feel like my time with her almost can't compete with what they had. And kind of going back to a little bit what she was saying about how I reacted, when she initially told me, I did react poorly, and I think any man would. I was newly married. In my mind, my life was perfect. This was the only woman I wanted the rest of my life. And then she drops the bomb on me. And she's right, I did react strongly, and she said, Chad wants to come out. I said, absolutely not. What can possibly be gained from you seeing him or talking to him? And of course, then she began to feel as if I wasn't being supportive. And so it really played tricks in my mind as to, what am I supporting? Am I supporting her getting over Chad? Or am I supporting her trying to move on from Chad and remain married to me?
What do you want Chad to do? I mean, tell him what you think he should do.
I think you should respect our marriage. What I feel from day one is you were married to her. You guys had something. But you let it go. And where were you this whole year? You could have reconciled any time. All she ever told me was she was waiting for that. And where were you? She sent you annulment papers. You sent them right back signed. You did nothing to reconcile. You didn't value her. You didn't know what she was worth. Where have you been for a year?
It's hard to say. I mean, I can't take back what I've done or the mistakes that I've made. And I totally see your side of it, how you could see like I'm a snake and feel adverse about me, you know? But I do feel that she was under a lot of pressure to get married to you anyway, and I feel you knew exactly what you were getting into when you agreed to it. Because she's told me on numerous occasions that you knew how she felt about me. Do I respect your marriage? Yes, but at the same time, I feel almost as if she was taken advantage of, because now I talk to her all the time, and she tells me how she feels about me. So what am I supposed to do now? Just walk away from that?
Yes.
Well, it's not an easy situation for anyone, and I'm really interested to ask Orlena what she has been saying to Chad, what she thinks about her commitment, and if she thinks she got out of this relationship too quick. Does she think she's about to get out of this one too quick and make 2 mistakes instead of 1, or maybe 3 instead of 2? We'll be right back.
The day we got married, I was elated. I kept looking at her, and she kept looking at the judge.
I put myself in this position. I chose to leave Chad, and I chose to marry Brent so fast.
And I kept squeezing her hands to try and get her attention to look at me, because I almost felt embarrassed that my family was there and she wouldn't want to look at me while we were saying our vows. I didn't think for once that she was still in love with Chad or she wanted it back. All I kept thinking was she was nervous and she's going through this again.
Orlena wrote to me desperate for help, very sincerely saying, I'm torn between 2 different loves. Now, her current husband, Brent, and her ex-husband, Chad, are both here trying to work this out so they can all move on with their lives in the healthiest way possible. I kind of hear you describe this as I have this internal war going on within me as a woman married to a man that I love and respect. But then when I hear both of you talk about it, I'm not sure that it's an internal war at all. You're saying she tells me all the time how she feels. She tells me she doesn't want me to go away. You are married to Brent. Are you having an inappropriate relationship with Chad in your mind?
I don't feel that I am at all. Absolutely not.
I got to tell you, if I was married to you, I would think the fact that you're talking to him on the phone and you're obviously discussing emotions. I'm not suggesting that y'all are sexually involved at this point, are you?
Not at all.
Okay, so we're talking about an emotional situation here. Are you having a running dialogue with Chad?
Yeah, we talk.
Okay, and you talk about your feelings, you talk about your future, and he's told you, if you want me to go away, I will.
That's correct.
And you've said what?
That I can't imagine, after having to be away from him and not having his friendship for all this time, and that's all I wanted, now, as a friend, it has been surreal to be able to talk to him about work, about superficial stuff, not anything even highly emotional.
I got a lot of friends, and I've never gotten a letter from one of them like you got from him. Your definition of friendship is different, because it seems to me that this is a love-based relationship. You want to be married to her again, correct?
Yes.
And do you want to be married to him again?
Part of me does, yeah. Yeah, I feel horribly, and I don't, about the previous statement, I'm not pretending that this is just a friendship thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I love him. I love him very much still. That has not been a secret. I haven't hid that from anyone. I'm just saying that it's multifaceted, the way I feel about him, that we're not on the phone divulging our emotions 24 hours a day. It's different. I mean, sometimes I talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes about the weather, and sometimes I talk to him about how I feel.
Are you justifying this emotional connection with Chad because of the way you say Brent reacted when you came to him?
Absolutely not.
And this, because that's the first thing you talked about when you said, I thought I loved him, he was wonderful, he was the perfect guy, he was everything. And then as soon as I told him I was still in love with my ex-husband, he became unsupportive.
No. That's not at all it.
No, really, is that what you're hearing?
That's not what I said. I told Brent when we were dating that I still love Chad.
Okay, well, would you agree that you are experiencing some confusion?
Absolutely.
About all of this?
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to unravel this. And so I want to give you my opinion on a few things that I think will clear up some of this confusion. And I'm going to take a break and do that when we come back. And I think this is going to start clearing up. Orlana is torn over her love for two men, ex-husband Chad and her current husband Brent. While this is painful at one level, do you kind of get off on it on another level? I mean, you got two men that are really vying for your attention and your love. I mean, you're the prize here. You got two great guys that are in a tug-of-war over you. And I'm curious if you have enough insight to recognize that that can be a little intoxicating.
I guess if you spent one day in my shoes, you would feel otherwise. Because it's far from intoxicating to feel like you have two people's happiness in your hands and you're responsible for that. That is not intoxicating. It's devastating.
Do you have any sense of boundary? You say, I was married here and I got out too quick. I said, here's these annulment papers, buddy. What do you think of that? And he handed them back to you signed. You were running a game and he called you on it and you were shocked. You didn't really want the annulment. What you wanted him to do was wake up.
I said to him, I don't want to not be married to you. I want you to come back. I don't know where you are. Where are you? And Iraq was minimized, completely minimized. It's not that. Everyone makes such a big deal out of it. I'm fine. It was no problem. I went back and forth a million times. Nothing. We'd be having conversations just like this mid-afternoon, and he would fall right asleep.
Okay, but what pushed you over the line? You said that he was, and Chad agrees, that he was treating you horribly at the time. What was it that pushed you over the line? What did he do that was so egregious?
I think last time he said that he was going to come out and we were going to work things out and talk about things, and that he had some things he wanted to say to me. And he came out and went four-wheeling with my brother and my dad instead of working things out.
Do you worry that some men are territorial and they want what they can't have?
No.
Are you worried that his interest in you now is that he had you, didn't want you, didn't value you, didn't pay attention to you until somebody else started showing attention to you, somebody else is happy with you, somebody else values you, and so he says, no, wait a minute. No. Now, that validates her in my mind. I want her back. Men do that. Are you concerned that he wants you because he doesn't have you and can't have you, and as soon as he got you back would be four-wheeling with your brother again?
No, I don't. Only because when he came to me sincerely and when he expressed how he felt and just humbled himself and admitted everything, he had no idea that I was even in, he knew I was seeing someone, but he had no idea that I was engaged or married. He had no clue. So when he came to me and said, I'm an idiot, I'm desperate, I can't live without you, my life has been, a mess, and I'm sorry, Orlena, and I want things to be different, and I want to make a plan so they can be different. It was then, after he did that, that I said...
And you don't think that conversation is inappropriate for a married woman?
I don't think that I have said anything to Chad that I couldn't say in front of this audience or in front of Brent or in front of God. No, I don't. I haven't said anything to him.
Okay. Well, let's take a break. And I think we need to come up with a plan about how to get everybody in the most emotionally intact position they can be in. And I want to hear from Brent. I got a few questions for him when we come back. Orlena said Chad was the love of her life, but when he returned from Iraq, their relationship disintegrated. She moved on, she married Brent, and is now torn between her feelings for her ex-husband and her feelings for her current husband. Now, I've often said that, as frustrating as it can be, we don't legislate emotions. We don't just decide, I choose to be in love with this person. I choose to be in love with that one. It happens at a different level than just what we choose to do. Because if you could choose to not have any feelings here and choose to be fully in love with Brent, would you do that?
I don't know. We didn't have this horrible relationship like most people, you leave a relationship because it was bad and it was not good. No, I felt like the person I was in love with was dead to me, and he was never coming back, and that's how I reconciled it in my head, and that's how I forced myself to move on. So having the information that this person that I thought was gone forever is now back, would I choose to turn that off? No. Does that mean that I don't love Brent and that everything that I said to him wasn't true about how I feel about him? No.
What do you hear here, Brent? What are you hearing?
In my mind, it was always such a simple answer. I had expected her, if Chad called, hang up the phone. Or, Chad, I'm married, I love my husband. What we had was what we had. I've moved on. Because I expected that because that's what I would do. So then obviously I started thinking, I can't expect her to react the way I would react, which led me to believe that obviously she's extremely torn. And all I wanted to do is be supportive without tearing my hair out. And how much do I support? What do I support? He came out for 3 days and spent the day together and went to dinner together. And when she got home, if I acted depressed or hurt or whatever, then it was about me. Then she had to tend to how I was feeling and how I was reacting.
Is that reasonable?
And it just confused me.
Do you think that's reasonable?
Do I think what's reasonable?
For Chad to come out for 3 days, y'all spend that time together, go to dinner, have drinks, and then come home and have an expectation of support from Brent.
Do I think that that's reasonable? Yeah, I do. I think it's reasonable. I would do the same for him.
Okay, well, let me be clear about my opinion, and I don't expect you to substitute my judgment for your own. The fact that you think that's reasonable to do tells me that you're not seeing things clearly. that is not even almost reasonable. You are having an emotional affair with your ex-husband. I've been listening very carefully to this. And you seem to have some guidelines by which you measure this. And that's all you can do. I hope to change your opinion about that, but you believe you're doing the right thing. You believe what you're doing is reasonable. Do you believe it's reasonable?
No.
No, I don't believe it's reasonable either. Would you think it was reasonable if you two were married and she was spending 3 days with him and doing what you guys did? You wouldn't think it was reasonable. So you don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's reasonable. You don't think it's reasonable. Does anybody here think it's reasonable? No. So, I mean, and that doesn't mean they're right or I'm right or Brent's right or Chad's right, but you've got a really odd way of defining this, just saying, you know, hey, I told him what I was going to go do. That, to me, that doesn't make it okay. What do you think was happening to him while you were out having dinner and drinks with Chad? You think he had a nice evening?
No. No, I know.
I mean, seriously, do you think he had a nice evening when he woke up the next morning? Do you think that's eating at him inside? That his wife is, you know, Chad says, hey, tell me to back off and I'm gone. And he says, but she hadn't said that. What's it do to you to hear him say that she won't tell him to back off and respect my marriage?
Very angry, because I can't understand it. It's the emotion she has, obviously, is so much deeper than I can comprehend, because, you know, what we have is real, and my wife is absolutely wonderful, and I love her with all my heart. And, you know, when I said my vows, for better or worse, this is definitely as worse to me as it can get. But I want to endure this and see it through, and I'm not going anywhere. And the fact that she can't tell him to go away, or we can't talk anymore, or I've moved on, desperately hurts.
No matter what decision Orlena makes, it will leave one man hurt and devastated. I'm curious if they're both willing to leave their future up to her, or if one of them is going to stand up and say, I'm going to make my own decisions. We'll be back. Orlena's in a tough spot and has a huge decision to make. Do you want to know what I think?
Sure.
First, let me say to you, however this turns out, don't spend the rest of your life with a woman that loves somebody else because you don't have to. I mean, you just don't. If she looks at you honestly, and you've got to give her huge credit for being candid and telling you, as painful as it may be, she's at least not like sneaking around and doing something. She's being forthcoming. When I say don't spend the rest of your life with somebody that loves somebody else, or that, you know, there's like 3 of you there all the time, a ghost and the 2 of you, you don't have to do that. I'll guarantee you there are 10 million people watching this program right now, and 8 million of them are wishing they weren't married. I can just tell you. You're the kind of guy who used to piss me off. Just a tough act to follow. You couldn't compete with this guy. So you shouldn't do that. You don't want to be married to somebody that doesn't want to be married to you, true?
That's correct.
I mean, as painful as that would be, the worst thing than being in a bad relationship for a year is being in a bad relationship for a year and 1 day. And what makes it bad is if she's in love with somebody else. Not that you haven't had wonderful times and experiences together. So you need to take your destiny back into your own hands and make your own decisions. What I'm telling you is you made some mistakes here before. You did. You two were married. You met, you bonded, you married. It didn't work out. And by the way, people who are married, get divorced, and get remarried, do you know what the success rate is? It's really low. I mean, it's single-digit low. I mean, people get back and they get married again and they go, oh, yeah, now I remember. I believe you are having an emotional affair. I think you got out of this relationship too soon. I do think that. I do think y'all quit too soon, Chad. I think you went through something that I don't think you have a complete insight to right now. I think it changed you. I think you shut emotions down a lot when you were over there to survive. And it took you a while to get back into the world. And I don't think you even appreciate the full impact it had on you yet. And just for one, let me say how very much I appreciate and respect the fact that you went over there for the rest of us here. But you paid the price for it. You did. You paid the price for it. And you got out too soon. And I think you would make a huge mistake if you got out of this too soon. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think you need to do. I think you need to tell Chad that I have moved on. I am married to a guy that hasn't done a damn thing wrong. He's everything that I was looking for. He's everything that I wanted. And I need you to give me space to heal this relationship, nurture this relationship, and get closure on my feelings at this point. That's what I need. I can't do that with you in the picture. I got out of that one too soon. I'm not going to get out of this one too soon. I am going to give this a chance to gel. I'm going to give this a chance for us to create our own history, and I can't do that with you in the picture. I'll love you from afar. I'll value you. I hope someday we can be friends, as most people call friends, and not with this unfinished emotional business. But I can't do what this man deserves from me and I deserve in this relationship with you in the picture. I need you to back out of this and let me work through all of this with my husband. And if you're not willing to do that, you need to be looking for the door. That's my opinion. Is that something you're willing to do?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could say the right answer.
No, I'm not asking you to tell me what you...
Because everyone's here, but
I'm not asking you to tell me what I want to hear, because I know I'm not telling you what you want to hear.
No, it's not that. And that's why it's not like I came here because I wanted you to say all the right things. You know what I mean? I came here because I truly don't know, and I don't want to make an even bigger mistake. I don't. But emotionally, I can't say that I'm somewhere that I'm not, or I can't lie about it.
You're not. But what you can do is say, I need to respect the institution of my marriage.
Absolutely.
I need to respect the boundary of my marriage and not make the same mistake I made last time, which is getting out of this. I was not finished emotionally here. I wouldn't be finished emotionally here. At some point, I've got to be mature enough to stick where I am and do what I'm doing. And you can't do that here. We'll be right back. You know, I always tell people when they get in a relationship that you want to commit. You want to put your best foot forward, your best emotions forward, the best part of who you are forward. But I always say, don't ever invest more than you can afford to lose. If there is a point at which a relationship is getting toxic, or if there's a point at which toxic things are getting in your relationship, you have to create your own experience. You have to step up and say, I'm not going to be passive. And that takes commitment, it takes clarity, and it doesn't always happen really, really quick. But I think you need to finish the business where you are before you go on to the next relationship, and that's not always easy to do, but it's important. I want to hear what you think about it. drphil.com, message boards. We'll see what you have to say. Thanks for being here. So long.
To be honest with you, Phil did say what I wanted him to say. Stop communicating with Chad. Let's work on our marriage. But I know she's not at a point where she's able to do that.
It's not that I was looking for a specific answer. Every single day I'm upset. I'm sick over this.
She told me she wanted everybody could hear my side, but I think the view of the show was that I'm more of the intruder. I think Dr. Phil, he's right. She does need to pick. I'm just gonna go home and see what happens.
On an all-new Dr. Phil.
Troubled teen marriages. You did threaten to kill the children.
I think I'm going to kill them. It's exactly what she said.
No, I said this is why I see parents kill their kids.
They started a family when they were just kids.
They've got children raising children.
Now, it's all melting down.
Kim and Corey both have slapped the babies.
Have you been a negligent mother? A bleeding diaper rash, fighting in front of them. You have responsibilities for those children.
They didn't have milk because nobody would bring over milk.
Well, I would never let those babies go without milk.
Wait a minute,
Wait a minute. Stop. Does this seem wrong to you? You're their mother. This is not okay. Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go, in 10.
Stand by, camera 6.
If it's happening now, we're going to deal with it now.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by A, and roll A, check in.
Go, Dr. Phil.
Thank you very much. Okay, now ask any teenager and they'll tell you how tough their life is, right? Schoolwork, dating, parents, dating, dating, some more dating. And when they are in love, obviously they think it's the real deal. This is the one, right? They know it. They just know it. They want to get married. They want to run away. They want to be together forever. Let me tell you, if you have a teenager who is in love or you think is sexually active, you should holler for them to come in the room right now, sit down with them, and watch today's show. Because I'm going to show you today just how far off in the ditch teen love can wind up. This can be a wake-up call for them. They can end up with 2 kids on their hips, no job, living with you, and guess who's going to raise those kids? You. This is what can happen when kids make adult decisions. Now today, my guests say their kids are in troubled teen marriages. Teen and marriage shouldn't be in the same sentence. My first guest, Dale and Lori, say their 18-year-old son, Corey, is in a toxic relationship with his young wife, Kim. They fell in love when barely out of junior high, and their crush quickly turned to chaos. They verbally abuse each other in front of their kids, which they already have, and they've only been married 5 months. Take a look.
You're supposed to bring home.
Well, you didn't bring home food.
My son, Corey, was 17 and Kim was 19 when they got married.
My daughter, Kimberly, did get married very young.
They're not happy. They never get along.
Come sit down.
I'm sitting next to you.
When Corey and I first started dating, I was 15, he was 14.
They were almost addicted to each other in the beginning. When one of them had to go home, they would cry until they could be together again. Shortly thereafter, they found out they were pregnant.
Corey and I have been married for about 5 months now. I have 2 kids, and their names are Tanner and Tara.
Corey was 14 and Kim was 16 when they found out they were pregnant.
We did get married a couple of kids.
Kim and Corey are ignorant in so many fathoms of life, and those kids didn't ask to be born into such a traumatic relationship.
Stop screaming now.
Corey and Kim both have slapped the babies. Kim and Corey both have a tendency to throw things, break things. They didn't feel the need to pick up dirty diapers, to wash bottles.
Tanner has asthma. They don't always give him his breathing treatments, and then he'll wind up in the hospital.
The children don't have a routine. They don't take baths at the same time. They don't eat at the same time. They don't go to bed at a decent hour. Whatever Kim and Corey's schedule is for the day is what is the baby's schedule for that day.
Kim and I fight about a whole lot of different things. Who's going to go to the store, who's going to cook, I asked you, what do you want me to cook for you? I'll cook anything for you.
Sit down.
She'll confront me about drinking. She gets mad at me about my friends calling. She like wants me all to herself.
Corey has slapped me on the face in front of his parents.
I've never hit her.
Corey and I fight a lot.
I worry about my kids when I'm not there. I don't trust her with them. Kim said she's going to kill the kids because I wouldn't come home.
I never said I was going to kill my kids.
I think she's crazy enough to do it. I absolutely think she's crazy enough to hurt them.
Corey's family has turned against me because I had an affair. Corey never paid attention to me, and so that's what pushed me into another man's arms.
I just called her to talk to that guy again, and she's telling me she doesn't want me anymore. I don't know what to do anymore.
After I found out she was having an affair, I came home and said I was going to cut the tattoo off my chest.
The tattoo of our wedding date. Corey was crying on the floor in a ball. I felt that he was very unstable. He kept screaming and punching the wall.
I worry about the effect on the kids a lot.
Tanner and Tara definitely will be emotionally burdened by this whole situation because of the emotional warfare that Kim chooses to play on them.
This is going to scar them for life.
I don't think they're fit to be parents.
Okay. Tell me why you two wanted to, agreed to, are here today.
I absolutely think we need help if we're going to work anything out at all.
How about you?
I obviously love him. I just, after seeing that and saying that he's saying I threatened my kids, it just changed now. I don't really.
She did threaten the kids. I've got it on tape at home.
Okay, you did threaten to kill the children?
No, I said this is why I see parents kill their kids.
You said, I've got to hurt him, Corey. I have to hurt him. I think I'm going to kill him, is exactly what she said. I called 911.
Okay, you have that recorded. Why were you recording her?
Because she had a restraining order against Corey saying that he threatened to kill her, and the lawyer said it would be a good idea to record the conversations.
Now, you're Corey's mother, and so but you don't endorse this relationship.
I do and I don't. I know they love each other so much, but I think their relationship is, like I said, I think it's toxic. They're addicted to each other, and it's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, Dale, what do you think about this?
I don't like it.
Why?
It gets worse every day.
I mean, because we've got children raising children.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the whole problem.
I was kind of left in the dark on some of it because they wouldn't tell me. But I didn't like it. Also, they're not together no time. She comes up pregnant.
Yeah, they grounded me from her.
And he
I
wasn't
allowed to see her anymore.
I'm sorry?
They grounded me from her. I wasn't allowed to see her anymore, and I'd sneak out in the middle of the night and stuff.
How old were you when Kim got pregnant?
I was 14.
You were 14. Did y'all know he was sexually active?
No. He was he was a junior pastor at our church. He counseled other kids about premarital sex.
Okay, and you were a youth counselor.
I was a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah,
and I went to pastoral college.
Okay, and y'all were very much in favor of abstinence.
Yes.
And you were working with other youth, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but at 14, had anybody saying to you about condoms or safe sex or anything of the sort?
Yes, sir, they did. But when we first met, she had said she was on birth control and all this stuff, and I was a virgin at that time. I lost my virginity to her. And
you were a virgin at 14? Well, it happens.
Sometimes it does
Most
happen.
people are, aren't they?
Okay. Does this seem wrong to you to be, how old are you now?
I'm 20.
You're 20 now, and you're married with 2 children. And how old were you when you got pregnant?
I was 16.
Okay, you were 16. He was 14. And you were having sex. As you look back on that, does that seem like a bad decision?
Very.
And you didn't get pregnant just once. I would think once you would go, oh my God, exactly. I have a miniature human here, and I'm only 16. Oh my God. But then you got pregnant again. So are you like a slow learner?
No, I was on
Or
birth
did you do it
control.
on purpose?
No, I was on birth control. I really was.
If you was on birth
Kim,
control,
you
you
told me
wouldn't have
you
got
were
pregnant.
allergic to birth control pills, is what you
I never
told me.
said I was allergic to birth control pills.
Okay.
If you're on birth control, you don't get pregnant about 98% of the time.
No, it's because I was only on it for about 4 weeks when I got pregnant.
Okay. Were you having sex before you were on birth control?
Yes.
So you were having unprotected sex after you had already had a baby at 16?
Yes.
So what was your thinking?
We guess we weren't.
Pardon me?
We weren't thinking.
I reckon not. Okay, all right, well, we got to figure this out. Look, there's a reason I'm doing this show today. I'm doing this show today for you as well as for them. Robin and I raised 2 teenage boys, and as far as we know, they don't have any children out there, none that we've heard about, and I want you to be able to say the same thing. Now, we're going to add Kim's mom to the mix here. When we come back, more of Corey and Kim's dramatic confrontations. Now, wait till you hear what really happened the night Corey was arrested. Okay, we'll be right back.
We have recorded some of the conversations between Kim and Corey. She's literally blackmailing him.
Our wedding was great. I was happy, elated. It was perfect.
Our wedding was really small.
And when she was walking down the aisle, it was the most wonderful time. She was beautiful.
It was not my dream wedding.
I felt like it was going to be the rest of our lives.
It was fun. It just wasn't what I wanted, really.
Well, that was Corey and Kim talking about their wedding day. And from what we just saw, it's clear they weren't on the same page. I mean, the same kid can't be on the same page day after day. That's why we call them kids. Now, I'm wearing 2 hats today. I'm talking about this from a parent's perspective and also from an advice-giving perspective. Now, they've been married for 5 months. They have 2 children and a load of problems, probably because they met and had children at like 14, 15, 16 years of age. Now, Janet, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Janet is joining us via webcam. She says Corey and Kim want to be teenagers without the responsibility of taking care of their families. So you join with Corey's parents here in saying, A, that this is not a good situation to be in, and B, that they're not taking care of their responsibilities, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What do you see that concerns you most about these 2 as parents?
And I wouldn't say it's neglect of the children, because they do love their children. They just don't want the responsibility of them 24 hours a day like a parent should. They want to be kids. They want to have their friends come and go as they want to. They don't have the responsibility financially. They don't even know what financial responsibility is at this point.
Okay, where are you 2 living right now?
Well, he refuses to.
Are you all having intimate relations on any kind of regular basis now?
We're not allowed to be around each other 91 days. I got a protective order.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but that wasn't the question, though. The question was, are you being intimate now?
We did last night.
Pardon me?
I said we did last night.
Okay. Yeah. Did you put that protective order between you?
If it would have fit.
Yeah. So you have a protective order against you because you turned him into the police?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because he was crying, curled up in a ball on my kitchen floor, begging me to take him back. And he got a knife out. He reached up and pulled a knife and said, "I'm going to cut my tattoo off my chest."
Because what's the tattoo on your chest?
The tattoo of our wedding date. It says 4/27/07 on my chest.
Yeah. Well,
bad idea.
Let me tell you, tattoos tend to last a lot longer than teen marriages. So that's a bad idea as well. Are you on birth control now?
Yes.
Every day?
Yes.
For sure you're on birth
Yes.
control?
It's there.
Have you been on it consistently enough that it's
Yes.
taking effect?
Yes.
Because you could get pregnant again.
I've been on birth control since March of '06.
Do you believe that she's using protection?
Yes.
Do you believe she got pregnant on purpose last time?
I don't think she did it on purpose.
Yeah, do you think she got pregnant on purpose?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I'm not sure. I questioned it, but I really don't know for sure.
You know, you learn. I don't care how big of a kid you are. There's a time that look. You know what causes this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I've heard
the
about
second
it.
time, the first time, okay, when we were 15 or 16, 14, made a mistake, but here a year later we got another little baby.
Okay, now you said when they were getting together to begin with that their relationship was just obsessive.
Obsessive.
That you just felt like you had to be together 24 hours a day. It was just what you just got up in the morning and just had to be together every minute of every hour of every day, right?
And we were.
And when they got together, they were on the phone, and when I made them hang up, they would cry.
Yeah, and I'm talking about that because every teen love affair in America, every little girl, every little boy that is smitten with their high school sweetheart is just that way. You know, they're texting, they're on the phone, they're doing everything you guys did. But you got pregnant. Okay? And I want every parent in America to hear that because you were in love in school, right?
Right.
It's all you thought about. It's all you talked about. It's all you got up for in the morning. You would eat, sleep, everything was just each other, right?
That's it.
And now you got a protective order on him. You're wanting to carve the wedding date off of your chest. And you've got 2 kids in the mix. Okay. Now, Lori, Dale, and Corey say Kim's biggest lie cost Corey his job and the right to see his kids. Now, they say 2 weeks ago, Kim lied to the police about Corey threatening her and the kids with a knife, but she didn't sound too scared hours later when she was on the phone with Corey begging him to come back.
We have recorded some of the conversations between Kim and Corey. This is the beginning of one of the conversations where she's already issued the restraining order. She's trying to get him to meet her again.
I read your written statement, Kim. I said I was going to kill myself. I never threatened you. No, you said that I threatened you. No, I said I felt threatened. If you want this wrong, please.
In one part, Kim actually says, if you want me to go up to the lawyer tomorrow and drop those charges, you will come meet me right now. I mean, she's actually threatening it. She's literally blackmailing it.
What do you say about that?
I never told him to come, please. That was not my voice, obviously. All I told him, I said, oh my God. Whenever I called him, I said, can you please meet me somewhere at the park or somewhere, because that's the only place we're allowed to meet. And he was like, no, not until you go to the lawyer's office. And I said, well, I'm not going to the lawyer until you meet me somewhere. Because I wanted to talk, because I thought they were going to set me
Did you just say that wasn't your voice?
I never said, come, please.
Okay, we'll listen to it again. Play the tape again.
We have recorded some of the conversations between Kim and Corey. This is the beginning of one of the conversations where she's already issued the restraining order. She's trying to get him to meet her again.
I read your written statement, Kim. I said I was going to kill myself. I never threatened you. No, you said that I threatened you. No, I said I felt threatened. If you want this wrong, please.
In one part, Kim actually says, if you want...
That was you on the tape. Those were your words, because you said that wasn't you, that wasn't your voice.
Well, that was me, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, so we're talking about the same things here. Because if anything's going to happen constructively here, we got to stop this game playing. And it seems funny to me to be saying to you guys, you've got to quit these childish games because you're children. And children play games. That's why children don't get married and become parents, because they're not mature enough to have their priorities in the right place to make the sacrifices necessary to protect those that need protecting. And this isn't all about you. It isn't all about you. You have children here, and you have responsibilities for those children, or they need to be taken away from you two and put somewhere that they can get the nurturance and safety that they deserve.
Can I say something?
As soon as we come back, you can say whatever you want to. We're going to take a break. Then we'll let Kim say whatever she wants to. I want to hear from her mother as well. And I'm curious to what the adults in this situation think should happen. You see why I suggested that you watch this with your teenage lovebirds. We'll be right back.
Kim has lied to me since the day we met.
After I met Kim, I realized she had a problem with lying.
She had bragged during school that she was pregnant when she wasn't.
She lied to me about her dad living in some big mansion.
Kim told me that she was adopted, that her mother beat her regularly. I met her mom, and the resemblance was uncanny. I knew that she wasn't adopted. I knew that she didn't beat her.
Kim was a habitual liar. You can't trust her.
I confronted Kim about her lying. I just hugged her and I said, Kim, I know you're lying, honey. You have a problem with lying, don't you? And she just burst out crying.
Well, moms, if you have teenagers in love who are thinking about getting married, being sexually active, I've suggested that you watch this show and you watch it with them today. If they're not there, I hope you hit record so you can show it to them. 20-year-old Kim and 18-year-old Corey have taken the marriage vow, for better or worse, to a whole new level. They've only been married 5 months, but yet they have 2 kids under the age of 3, and they're already separated. There are no jobs. There's nobody paying rent in an apartment from which they will soon be evicted. The parents are completely against this. You say that Kim is a liar. Janet, you're there with us. You say that Lori tends to stir things up and create a lot of drama where there doesn't need to be. But you don't disagree about the priorities here, do you?
No, I don't. And yes, Kimberly does have some problems with the truth, but I don't think it's all Kimberly's fault. I think right now everybody is at fault, even the parents here, the adults. We're losing track of what we're here for in the beginning, and that is these kids. And, you know, they're blaming Kimberly for everything. Corey, you know, he's not a saint. He likes to drink. He likes to go out with his friends. He won't hold a job.
That's not true.
So it's not just Kimberly. There's everybody
He lost his job
is involved
in jail.
Okay, well, they're saying that's not true, that he got fired from his job because he got put in jail by Kim.
He did. He did get fired from his job because he came home early one day so they could fight.
So, Kim, what did you want to say? You
About
want to
the
say
kids.
something when we went to break?
About the kids. They said that we neglect them. We don't.
No one said that we neglected
And that we don't take responsibility. But when we're alone with them, that's all we do is care for them. Our house is cleaner than their house. Our house is spotless. Their room, there's no diapers on the floor. The only reason why we had so much problems at their house was because they were nagging us. They were telling us to do this. You need to have clothes on him. You need to do this.
Well, Corey, you say that you guys have knocked down, drag out fights in front of the kids.
We have had knocked.
You say, Lori, from being there, that they don't feed, bathe, and change the diapers, that both kids have chronic diaper rash, that they don't take the kids out, that you wind up doing babysitting, and
So does Janet.
that there are always temper tantrums, and that these kids have been slapped inappropriately.
Yeah.
Now,
They sure have.
No, I can't honestly say, without a doubt, that
Both of
when
them have. It's
you can ask my dad about this. Now, when we first moved into that apartment, we were doing really good. Before I found out about the affair and all that stuff, we were doing good, and the kids were taken care of. And you can ask my dad. Neither of them had rashes. They went to the swings with me every day for an hour or two.
Then what?
I found out about the affair, and that's when the big fight happened, and that's when I got thrown in jail and I got separated from them. And now when she brought them back over the other day, now they did have real bad bleeding diaper rash, and it was ridiculous.
And the only reason they didn't have milk, and it wasn't because I wasn't changing their diaper. It was because they went to bed with juice for the past 2 days because nobody would bring over milk.
Why is that? What? Did you call me and ask me for milk, Kim?
And Corey said he was not going to ask you because you didn't have money. He said,
I would never let those babies go without
Corey,
milk.
did you not tell me that they said?
Ever.
Say that.
You
I said, you need to call your mom because my...
As soon as I knew that, Kim, what'd I do? I went out and bought a pack of diapers.
Wait a minute. Stop. I'm going to ask Corey what he's been doing to take care of his family when we come back. First off, you guys you got sexually active in your teenage years. You had not one baby, but two. Then you went out and had an affair with someone else, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it an affair because we didn't do anything. He just came over.
Okay.
My apartment. You let another man in my apartment, regardless of whatever the hell you want to say. You let another man in my apartment. In the story, you did not let another man into my apartment. You see this ring? I kept mine on, and you didn't. We're married.
But I didn't have an affair.
You admitted to me that you kissed him out on the way out.
Like
on the way
goodbye,
out the door.
just like you kiss other people.
Okay, whatever. I'm
You
just telling you.
admitted that too.
Okay, did you tell this, is this a guy you met that you told him these weren't your children?
I never said
That's
these
him.
weren't my children.
I have text
No,
messages and I
didn't. He
have
came over
MySpace
and saw the
messages and
kids.
everything.
This isn't about coming to the defense of your child.
Amen.
If there are young children here that have bleeding diaper rash or going to bed without milk because you're waiting for somebody to bring it to you, you're their mother. Go get it. Why can't you go get it?
I didn't have money. I didn't have any car or anything. I didn't have money.
They're your children. What do you're under a restraining order. You can't go there. But are you aware that your children are going to bed hungry?
I am, absolutely. And I tried, I told my mom
This
and dad.
is not okay.
But Janet,
we wouldn't be having to worry about it if the restraining order had never got issued, if Corey hadn't lost his job, which prevented him from keeping the kids at night while she went to her job during the day, none of this would be going on.
Okay, I understand we can take a snapshot in this situation, and everything you just said is probably true. That's a snapshot in a movie. That's one freeze frame in a movie. There's a lot more going on here than that. So okay, ding, 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 round goes against Kim in this situation. But that's not the point here. You are concerned about these children, and rightly should be. The question is, what are we going to do with you two to step up? Why aren't you working?
I can't get a job.
How many hours a day are you spending looking for a job? Because if you don't have a job, your job is finding a job. Do you have a full-time job?
This will be, it's kind of full-time. It just depends on what calls we get because
it starts coming up, right?
No, he's already done it some.
I've already done some of it.
Are you making enough money to feed your children?
Absolutely. When I start, I'll be able to make enough.
Okay, that's what you're going to do, but you haven't been so far.
Not so far.
But now he's got to pay a lawyer $1,500 too.
What's your point?
Well, I'm just saying, I mean...
No, I know, you're just saying. What are you just saying? What is your point? What I'm trying to do is talk to them about their responsibility with these kids. And are you wanting to assign blame here? If so, let's just do it, and then we can talk about the solution.
I agree. Yeah, I'm wrong. I admit it.
All right, we'll be right back. I want to get to what they need to do, is what I'm trying to do. If you're a parent of a teen in love, you always have this conflict in you. It's fun to see them excited. It's fun to see them going to prom. It's fun to see them having a girlfriend or a boyfriend and getting corsages and all of these things that happen in school. But there's that line that you don't want them to cross. In this story, it has been crossed. Corey and Kim got pregnant in their teens. They now have 2 babies, and everything has fallen apart. Surprise, surprise. Of course it's fallen apart because we have children that are married. We have children raising children. Now, Kim, let me ask you, do you think that you have contributed to the problems here?
Yes.
Have you told lies? Have you been less than responsible as a mother?
Yes.
Have you contributed to the problems here?
Absolutely.
At this point, Do you think you have been a good, responsible father?
Not entirely. I believe I've tried, you know. I've tried to have a job.
Trying doesn't count for much. I mean, these kids, when kids are hungry, they don't go to bed and say, well, he tried. They don't say, you know, my stomach hurts, but they're trying. They're doing the best they can.
Well, you know, if I wouldn't
These
have
are
ever
little
lost that
kids.
job, if I would have never lost that job, I was making plenty of money. I could have made rent easily.
You
and
weren't
everything
getting
would have been
along
fine.
before you lost that job. It is not responsible to curl up in the floor and decide to carve your wedding date tattoo off your chest. You have children. That is irresponsible. It is immature. It is unwise. So don't tell me that if she hadn't called the cops on me, we'd be living in the suburbs with a picket fence, because that's a load of crap. Right?
I agree.
And I'm kind of conflicted here. You're 18, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I have a 20-year-old. I can't imagine this 20-year-old trying to raise a plant or a cat. And you have 2 children. So I mean, I'm saying these things like, don't you get it? And then part of me saying, of course he doesn't get it. He's a child. So I feel like I'm going schizophrenic up here. You have no business being parents, but when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. You chose the behavior, the consequences are 2 children, and you have to go onto the laser lane of growing up. You got to go to the laser lane of growing up. You know, you want to create all of this drama and have some boy over, and you know you're flirting with him, and then you're on the phone having drama with him. You don't have time for that. You have 2 children to raise. You have 2 children to raise, so they just became your number 1 and 2 priority. Okay? You need to get a job. And you need to not be going out with your friends. You need to not be drinking. You need to not be figuring out how you can get money for another tattoo or some chrome rims on your car. You have children. They need health care. They need food. They need preschool. They need education. They need clothing. They need stability. They need all of these things. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that at 18, but you made that choice when you were 14. Okay? And I really question where all of y'all were when all of this was going on. I know you can't watch them 24 hours a day, but we are where we are. Now, do you two, let me just ask you some hard questions and just get some straight answers. And this is a time, this is a critical series of questions in your children's lives. So you need to answer honestly and intelligently as you possibly can. And these are critically important questions. So gather yourself, forget about television, forget about the cameras. I'm going to give you a moment to think about this. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you those questions. Well, I'm here talking about teen love, and I've got some parents here. I've got Laura and Dale. I have Janet on webcam, that is Kim's mother. And you know, one of the things that is perhaps most disconcerting about this is these are not bad parents. They are not irresponsible parents. They are not inattentive parents. They are not parents that have not been plugged in along the way. I mean, you guys haven't been asleep at the switch. This can happen. Now, had I been there whispering in your ear when he was 14, I'd have been telling a different story than you might have been telling yourself, because this isn't the first time I've done this. This ain't my first rodeo. Now, let me ask you all some critically important questions here. Have you been a negligent mother? That's not an essay question. It is yes or no, and you know in your heart the answer. What is it?
Yes and no. Yes,
no, this is not a yes or no. There is a standard of parenting, and you have either met it consistently in a quality fashion or you have not. That's a yes or no question.
Yes, I have.
You have done that. Okay, so a bleeding diaper rash, no food for your children, fighting in front of them, that all meets your standard of parenting. Okay, that answers the question for me. All right, now my question for you is, have you been negligent as a father? Have you failed your duty in a consistent and quality fashion as a father?
I failed my duties.
Okay, you have failed your duties. You think you have not failed your duties as a mother? I seriously disagree. All right, question number 2. Is this to the point that you two need to shut this relationship down? Do we need to get a divorce here so each of you can get out of the pressure cooker? Is it time for you to say, we need to shut this down? It was a mistake to begin with. It was ill-conceived. It has ill-evolved, and we should not be married at this point. What is your answer to that?
Yes.
The answer is yes. You think you need to be out of this emotional pressure cooker and back with your parents. Okay, what do you say?
I agree with her. I told her it was her choice. So
I'm not asking you what she should do. I'm asking you if you believe that this is ill-conceived and you need to shut it down now.
Yes, I think we do.
Okay, question number 3. Do you think and feel that you are or are not able to handle these children? Should these children be placed for adoption? Should they be given up to either family or foster care or somewhere so they have a fighting chance in this world to get it together?
I believe I can take care of them. I absolutely think I can.
I know I can. I've been doing it for the past week, and I've been really good. I know I can do it.
Did you say you've been doing it for the past week?
By myself, like just me and the kids. No one's been over to help me. I've been doing it.
Are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary?
I am.
Because I'm telling you, this isn't, a father with children doesn't go spend $10 on beer on a Friday night. He doesn't go to a tattoo parlor and spend $100. You don't get arrested for drinking underage. You don't go get rims on your car. You don't go hang out with your friends playing video games till 3 in the morning and not show up for work the next day on time. You don't do those things that a lot of young guys do, because you're a young guy with 2 kids. So that means you've got to decide, I have a responsibility. My money goes to my children and taking care of them. That's what it's talking about. Okay? It also means that you spend time with those children, quality time with those children.
I agree.
Do you understand that this means that you have to get a job, that you have to arrange for childcare, that you have to do the things that are the sacrifices necessary for children to have stability in their life and in their homes? Because if you don't, then you need to admit that, put your ego aside, and let someone more capable raise these children. And I'm troubled that you say, yeah, I'm up to it. I've been doing a good job, because I don't see that. I don't see that. I see a whole competing agenda in the tape pieces, in the things that you say here. I don't think you get yet the sacrifices necessary to raise these children. I'm not saying you can't. And let me be very frank with you. I think you are a lovely young woman. I mean, I really do. And you seem to have a really sweet spirit about you. I think you're easily hurt. I think you're easily wounded in spirit. And I think you're doing the best you can with what you've got. But it just isn't much when it comes to the adult role that you're in. And you heard the answer to the questions, moms, dads. What do y'all think about what they're saying and what I'm saying?
I don't think either one of them can do it alone. I think without serious counseling in a lot of areas, they both need anger management. They need help, and it's not just Kim. They both need help with lying. I mean, in the games they play and the vindictiveness and everything.
Yeah, that's why I say, look, the chance of, we're just here about being honest, right? The chance of this marriage working is very, very low. I mean, come on. The divorce rate with teen marriages is over 60%. You add kids, it even goes up beyond that. Physical violence in marriages is the highest among teens than any other group across the board. It just, and you're already living it. You're living the statistic. You are the statistic. You are the statistic. And the sooner you admit that, the better off you're going to be. The sooner you admit it, the better off you're going to be. Janet, anything you want to add before we go to break here?
Yes. As far as Kimberly raising the children, I know we have talked about this, and she does want to keep her kids, and she has her entire family to support her. If that means moving back in with me, we're all behind it.
We'll be right back. Okay, let me say to you two that if I make resources available to y'all in terms of parenting and home planning and job procurement, whatever is needed, whether it's marriage counseling, individual counseling, parenting, whatever, if I make those resources available to you two, will you avail yourselves of that?
Absolutely.
I mean, right there where you live, I'll arrange resources there for you guys to do that, because you don't want to have a know-it-all attitude here. There's a lot you can learn, so you can do this right. I have no doubt that you both love those children, but, you know, it's, love that's kept here but not lived doesn't do them any good. So you will accept that help, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you guys will be fully apprised of everything that's going on, because you'll probably be asked to participate in that as well.
Thank you.
Okay? All right. For more information on teen relationships, go to drphil.com. We're going to have some do's and don'ts, and you want to stop these things before they get too far. I thank all of my guests for being here today. We'll see you next time. So long.
All new Dr. Phil today. The millionaire and his beautiful new wife.
She thinks you're hiding money and cheating the kids.
And the ex who says she's on welfare.
I'm pissed. I'm upset.
Raw emotion.
What do you want from Kim?
I just...
As the accusations fly.
Hold on.
He's the one that does drugs.
Do you agree to take a drug test today with us?
I will if you pay child support. How's that?
Listen, y'all have had plenty of time to talk. It's my turn.
Don't miss Exes at War.
If you're single and watching this show, this is not how it has to be. Coming up. Let's do it. It's happening now. We're going to deal with it now.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by A and roll A. Check in.
Go, Dr. Phil.
Today, we are dealing with exes at war. Now, you've met them before, and now they are back for more. You may remember Carrie, who accused her ex-husband's fiance of being a mean, evil stepmonster to her 3 kids. Here's a recap of what happened 7 months ago.
When I see her, I want to rip every hair out of her head. I want to slap her. I consider Carrie to be the evil stepmother.
I'm not a step monster.
I believe Carrie is very jealous of my fiance.
Ken lives in a $1.8 million home. He drives a $100,000 BMW. Ken has stopped paying child support. I'm on welfare. I am very humiliated living the way that I have to live and seeing them live this lavish lifestyle.
you resent what you don't have.
I have not received child support since September of '05.
That's false.
Do you think she's just causing trouble to get even with you?
She's lonely, she's unhappy, and she's going to do everything she can to make sure the kids love her unconditionally. What about Taylor's graduation when we're sitting in the front row with the kids? You come and get Skylar and Chandler and say, come with me right now. That's not about the kids.
Well, one thing that I think nobody would dispute fight because they don't want to go over there. Is that of their own doing, or is that because they sense this angst going on?
That's why I'm here.
Okay, well, let me tell you, it's because they sense the angst between you and them. You feel that if you guys set a wedding date and try to do that, then that she's going to sabotage the date. You agree to it right now so they can set a date and you're not going to change it.
Okay, so our date is July 14th.
Taylor's going to be in the wedding? Still upset with her ex, Ken, and also upset with me. Take a look at their update.
I took 3 Xanax last time on the Dr. Phil show. I was very nervous. My ex-husband and his new wife came on the show to make me look like a bad parent. You can't imagine how it felt to sit this close, and then here she is flaunting her ring, and it was hard for me.
After the Dr. Phil show, it was better for maybe a week, and then it actually got a lot worse.
Ken did call the police on me twice.
My ex-wife has withheld the kids from me, and I had to call the officers to enforce the order.
Ken gets mad at me when my oldest daughter, Taylor, does not want to go visit him. And it's not my fault. Ken has such a bad temper. He thinks it's me telling her not to go, but that's not the case. All the kids participated in Ken and Carrie's wedding.
The wedding was our dream wedding. My wife was beautiful. The kids were beautiful.
Taylor was a little freaked out. She called me from the closet on the wedding day, crying. She says, Mom, I can't do this. I can't watch them do their vows. And I said, you have to. You're and she pulled herself together.
Taylor was in a great mood during the wedding. She had a great time. We all danced and took pictures and went to the beach afterwards, and we all had so much fun.
I'm here to set the record straight. I'm not jealous of Ken or Carrie or their money. I'm so frustrated that here I am on Dr. Phil again. My kids are suffering, and he is a bully, he's a liar, and it's not fair. Last time, there was so many things I wanted to say. I was so out of it, and I was caught off guard by Dr. Phil a lot. I wasn't prepared, and this time, I'm gonna be prepared.
Well, one thing Ken and his ex, Carrie, agree on is that nothing has changed in the combat between the two of them. Ken won't even talk to his ex because it just always turns into what he calls mudslinging. Now, I also want to introduce Julius. This is Carrie's new boyfriend, so thanks for being here.
Fiancé.
And fiance, okay. Have you two gotten married?
Yes.
So you did it on July 14th, so congratulations on that. How's it going?
It's going good.
Excellent.
Yeah, all right, good. But not going well here.
No, and actually escalated after we got married.
Okay. And what's the issue? What are the issues been
Can I
between
speak?
you? Yeah, that's why I'm saying what
Okay.
I'm asking you what are the
Everything
issues.
was going good during the summer. Everything was going very well between Ken and I. And after the wedding, Taylor came home. Actually, all 3 of the kids came home, and they were, I don't want to say completely upset, but my oldest daughter was really upset. And I think it was just maybe a shock after the whole excitement of the wedding and the dresses. And they told me that they had fun and that it was, you know, a beautiful wedding and this and this. But there is that kind of ending, you know, like your parents are never going to get together again, is what my daughter explained to me, how she's feeling that it's finalized and that was kind of what she was going through. So I called Ken and said, Taylor does not want to come visit this next time. But he flipped out, screamed.
5 times
Yeah.
since you were here on your ex-wife?
Yes.
Yeah, at least because of withholding the kids from me.
I don't withhold
Now,
kids from you.
I know that Taylor,
Never.
all my kids.
I call the police first and say, my ex-husband's going to call you. I'm not withholding the children. My daughter is throwing up. She has 102 fever. I am not withholding the kids.
You said you wanted to set the records straight.
Yes.
Here, and you have notes on your hand so you don't forget, which is a good idea.
They wouldn't let me have a card like you, so.
So set the record straight. What is it that you think is wrong?
I don't know. What's wrong with you, Ken? Why did you get so upset with me when I told you that Taylor didn't want to come to your house?
It's funny how the things parallel, Dr. Phil, that
could care
all of a
less
sudden
about their
our
wedding.
relationship, okay, maybe we're communicating for a week or two, and then all of a sudden things go south because she wants me to change days, she wants me to change orders, there's history there. Ken, orientation's coming up for Taylor. Ken, the first day of school's coming up. I noticed that you have that. Can I have it? No. She calls me 8 times.
I
never
didn't say
answer.
that. That's not
Next
true.
thing you
You're
know, she
lying,
calls me
Ken.
up.
No,
By
you're
the way,
lying.
I'm
You're
taking
lying.
Sir,
You're
that is a
lying.
lie because I was listening.
Yes,
on
my
that as
daughter
well.
said, I want to stay with you, Mom. I'm having a hard time dealing with the wedding. And I even called you. I said she doesn't want to
What do you
see all
think
the
she's
pictures.
going to say to you?
Okay.
You know what? What do
All
you
right.
think she's going to say to you, Ken?
Okay.
What do you think she's going to say to you
Hold
guys?
on.
She's upset. She's 15. What do
All
you
right, now,
think?
hold on.
Carrie's not very nice to her.
Go ahead.
This time I'm normal. I'm pissed. I'm upset.
Well, now you say
I'm
this
very
time you're
upset.
normal, and
I
the
took
reason
3
you said that
Xanax
you weren't
last
normal
time.
last time is because you chose to take 3 Xanax.
Yes, because I was
before
nervous.
you came out here. Well,
the fact is I wasn't there to support
I
her.
was supposed to be out here with my daughter, and at 2 minutes before I got on stage, after they did her hair and makeup, they pulled her off. So she was supposed to be sitting here with me,
I don't
telling
think my
them
daughter should have
how
been
she
up here.
feels, because you're afraid to listen to her.
Well, I'm
Okay.
And you
Whoa, whoa,
won't
whoa.
listen
Hold-
to her.
no, hold
Ken.
on.
That's
Hold-
the problem.
Hold on. You're talking about last time or this time?
Last time I was on Dr. Phil, she was
Okay.
supposed to be with me.
Okay, and your daughter is how old?
15.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay, the producers wanted her.
No, listen. I make those decisions.
Okay.
They bring people here that are parties to the stories, and then I make the decisions. And when I saw what was going on in this situation, there wasn't a snowball's chance in hell that I was going to parade a 15-year-old child out here in the middle of this yelling, screaming, and mudslinging. So you can add that to your list of being pissed off at me, I guess, because I'm the one. They didn't make that decision. Buck stops right here. I made that decision, and I would make it again.
Yeah.
You don't want children involved in adult issues, even though the adult issues are very childish, in my opinion, between what y'all are doing, yelling back and forth at each other. I mean, come on, the cops have been involved 5 times. What are y'all, raised by wolves or something?
He's the one that calls the cops.
Can I say something?
But there's a reason. What do you want to say?
What I want to say is she has never called the police. Never.
She just
You've done the order so many times.
Hold on.
Hold on, let me say something.
Okay, she just sat here in front of me and says that she calls the police first.
I do, to let them know that he's
then what are you telling me she's never called the police
Yes,
for?
she-
Were you
no,
not
no.
listening a minute ago? She said she calls the
I
police
listen
before
very
he does?
well. I listen very well.
Well, but why are you telling me she never called the police when she
Well,
just said she did?
Have the police come to the
She
house.
has the police come to the house preparing for him to call the police.
So she does call the police?
Once or twice she did, yes.
Pardon
I
me?
made a mistake. Once or twice she did.
Okay, but that's my whole point is, why are we doing this? The
need to
children
ask
are
Ken
watching
that.
this.
Why
All right,
is
I got to
Ken
take
so
a break.
upset?
Okay, I'm going to let you talk first and we come back. All right, so the question is, are the kids being used as pawns here? Is there a way that we can get to some level of order here? I arranged therapy for them. They went for a while, then they quit. There's a big story and fight about that. We'll talk about it all when we come back. Let's start with you. So look at your notes.
I'm saying this in a statement. I believe he's hiding his money.
Carrie definitely is jealous. I became successful, met a girl, and together we were successful. And I think she's gonna make me pay for it for the rest of my life.
He can go to Mexico, he can buy a new laptop, he has all these cars, he's got a fully stocked refrigerator full of beer. He gets to shop at Costco. I'm not jealous of Ken or Carrie or their money. I have a life. I have a boyfriend. He helps with homework. He helps around the house, and we're fortunate to have him, all of us.
If Julio was to become their stepfather, that's unfortunate. I wish my ex would find someone better than that.
Today we're catching up with some of our most interesting guests that you've had comments about because you share commonalities. I mean, there are a lot of step-blended families out there. In the show where we covered step-parenting wars and interactions, these guests had a lot to say. Now, one of our guests from that show, Carrie, said that she was sickened by the way her ex-husband's fiancé treated her children. After appearing on the show 7 months ago, Carrie says she's still mad at her ex Ken and his new wife, Carrie. Now, you said you were so mad at me after the last show that I gave you a full set of books and CDs and tapes and everything, and you said you ripped them up and burned them.
And Dr. Phil, I just want to say the Family First book, it hit home, and that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, right,
because
Ken.
everything you talked about, that's my world, that's what I deal with on a constant basis, and that's why I'm here.
A lot of trees gave their lives for those books, and then you just threw them away.
I was very angry when I left here because I was portrayed like this jealous ex-wife, and I'm not jealous.
But even
she
this
can have
time,
him. She can support him for the rest of her life, like I had to.
But let me ask you, you say that you're not jealous and that I didn't ask questions you wanted to ask last time. But
Yes.
this time, in the pre-interview for this show, because we interview you and ask you what you want to talk about and what's going on, you still say that Ken and his new wife, Carrie, have a $1.8 million house, new laptop, iPods, $100,000 car, cruises, honeymoon, and I'm on
Sharks
welfare.
tickets, they go to concerts. That cost
Concerts
$200.
and games and
Now, why
stuff.
can't he pay for a $50 yearbook?
Okay, now, let me say two
Why
things.
won't he pay?
One, that does sound like jealousy, but the continuation of that thought is you're saying since he has that financial wherewithal, then why doesn't he do more for our children?
Yes.
And you say he says he can't.
He says he has no money.
Okay,
and
so-
that he only makes $3,000 a month working for her father.
Okay, so what's the
explain
story
this.
here? She thinks you're hiding money and cheating the kids.
You know, it's no secret, Dr. Phil.
That's the question you wanted to ask, right?
Dr. Phil, I am lucky to have the $3,000 a month that I have now. I was in subprime mortgage lending at its height. For 5 years, I rode the gravy train. She rode the gravy train. I was making a ton of money. She was a rep also. We had two incomes. We're both sales reps.
No, I was never a
She was
secretary.
the
I was never a
secretary.
secretary.
You were the
ever.
secretary.
Okay, keep telling
She's-
You
yourself
were
Yeah.
that.
secretary, Carrie, with the little
Okay,
hearts on the
she was a-
envelope.
she worked at a
How much you
title-
loved my ex-husband.
Dr. Phil, she worked
I
at a title
know.
company. From that, she got a job as an account manager. Then she became a wholesale sales rep. We were both in the wholesale lending for subprime mortgage. It took off. We made a ton of money, yes. Now today, with my resume, with the company that I worked for that went bankrupt, today I can't get any job in mortgage lending because of the subprime, the red flags. People are, oh, you work with that company, forget it. I'm lucky to have what I have now.
Are you paying the court-ordered child support?
Yeah.
Are you
No,
up
it's
to
being
date?
garnished.
Up to date.
No, you're not. You're not up to
That's
date.
an untrue
I
statement,
sent
Dr.
the legal
Phil.
papers. He owes me $11,000 in back pay. I sent you the
false.
legal. You guys are wrong.
Read the-
And Dr.
You're wrong.
Phil, we
I
also
sent
now,
the legal papers.
I have a court document here that says the parties agree that as of 5/11/07, there are no health care or child care
That's it.
reimbursements owed by either party, no child support.
Care.
Let me finish. No child support arrears owed, so payback at zero and new withholding order to issue. Healthcare reimbursement claims are to be exchanged within 30 days of the payment, et cetera, et cetera. So as of that date, there was nothing in arrears.
That was
and
May. Tell me the date again.
that was May 11th, 07. Those were in the documents, actually, that you... That was
what I signed.
no, I
Carrie.
know what you
I have
signed.
me.
I know what you signed. You signed that document right there.
Well, there's
Your attorney
another
signed it?
paper that says there's some other things. That's not right.
You guys let us speak. Let us speak. You guys need to speak individually.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Phil.
Yeah,
I
just
appreciate
speak
that.
individually.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
appreciate that.
this is math, not magic. He either owes you money or he doesn't.
I
And you're
believe
saying he
owes me
does, but the court
yes.
documents say he doesn't.
Well, I'm unclear then with the court documents because I
Well,
was
let's make
told
accusations if you're
in
unfair.
court.
It's always smart.
Well, I looked at them pretty
Whatever.
carefully, and I didn't see if there's money
There's an
owed. I'm just-
$11,000 arrears that's written on that bottom piece.
Well, but as of
I
that
will-
date, they said there was money owed on both parts. It was zeroed out. Court
shouldn't have been
says
for
there is
child
nothing
support.
in arrears.
Well, he owes me for October of 2005.
Well,
no.
as of
There's more
11/7,
stuff.
as of 5/11/07, that's not. I'm just trying to deal with facts here because there's always he said, she said.
Okay, so
and
if
okay
that's
now.
the
But Dr. Phil, you know what? We need to nip this
fact-
about it. Forget about the money. We talked about the last time. We're coming in here. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. It's not about the money. To me, it's about the kids. Something needs to be done today. Emotionally, they're going down the drain. She's making them feel so guilty.
It's because of you, Ken.
Thanks
You
to
won't
you.
listen to your daughter.
You've gotta be
Hold on.
You won't listen to how
all right, hold
she
on. I'm going to take a break, and we're going to pick this up when we come back. Now, there's something that Ken is very concerned about with his ex. It kind of tops a lot of other things. I'm going to let him talk about that because I've let you say what you were concerned about, and I'll just let everybody talk when we come back.
My wife, Carrie, 100% is the best thing to happen to me and my kids.
I believe that things have gotten worse since we've been married.
My ex-wife is always talking about my wife to the kids about how evil she is. I hear Mommy hates Carrie. Mommy wants Carrie to die.
I bought Chandler a cell phone because my ex-husband will not let me talk to my kids.
She used it as a link to my house. And she would call him, what are you doing every hour? What's going on? And what's Carrie doing? What'd you guys have for dinner? I think he felt like the little messenger boy for her.
Sometimes you may wonder why I do stories where people are just kind of all mad and talking at the same time. And I'll tell you why I do it. I do it because what you're hearing now, what I'm hearing now, is what I fear these children are living and growing up with. So my mission, my goal is to not come down on one side or the other side, but to try to come down on the children's side and create some harmony inside a family situation. Now, I'm here with Ken and his new wife, Carrie, and his ex-wife, Carrie, and her fiancé, Julian. Apparently, in the last 7 months, things have not gone well. Police have been called multiple times. Kids are still being caught in the middle to the point of having physical symptoms. Now, on top of all of that, there's something that Ken is very concerned about with his ex-wife, and it has to do with their son's cell phone. So let's look at this.
I believe 100% that my ex-wife does drugs. I heard from a friend of hers that she smokes marijuana nightly and she keeps her bong under her bed in a shoebox. And one time, we had Chandler's phone. He was at a playground, and we heard it ring, and it was actually a text message from one of my ex-wife's friends. And we were appalled to find out that there was about 14 messages of a drug transaction about her picking up weed, and she's using her son's cell phone for a drug deal.
That's a lie.
Okay.
That's a lie. He put stuff in Chandler's cell phone.
Was that a
he
threat?
stole Chandler's cell phone. He wouldn't give it back. That is a total lie.
You're threatening me.
I'm a nurse.
What are you saying? What are you
I'm
saying?
a nurse
to
that
him?
He's
uses
a lie.
drugs.
Hold on,
I'm a
Julian.
nurse.
Hold on, Julian. You
Let me-
wanted to
let
be
me
in
say
this
something.
situation, so tell me what. Are you threatening him as we're sitting here?
No, I'm not threatening him.
You
I'm
just,
saying
he
that
just asked you, are you threatening
he is a
me? And you
liar.
said yes.
He's a liar.
He just asked you, are you threatening me?
Threatening
and
him
you
what way?
said yes.
That's
Threatening
why
him
you
what way?
Every
stole
time I
the
come to the
cell phone.
house.
No, you bully me. You park
He
behind
does.
my car so we can't get out.
All right,
You
hold on.
pull up and you
Carrie,
bully me.
Carrie, hold on. Julian,
How is that a threat when I say he's a
you're the one that
No.
said yes.
Said, yeah.
He asked you, are you...
Oh, my
Carrie,
God.
stop. You
Okay,
asked Ken if he was threatening. You asked Julian if he was threatening you, and you said yes. What is the
to the
threat?
fact that he's an not anything else, not for beating him up or anything, because that would have happened a long time ago.
Yeah, how long have y'all been in a relationship?
7
6
years.
years.
6 going to 7.
So you,
Same as them.
She was the one who left. She left with him.
so Julius,
You
you've
left
been
with her.
involved in this for 6 years?
Yeah, and you know what, sir? I never get in between the two of them when they talk, when their conversations as far as the kids. Never,
did call
never.
me.
But
All right,
there
here's what we took off the cell phone at 3:44 p.m. It says, quote, you said you would take the weed to him at 9A. He's been waiting all day for you to do. For you, do you remember talking to me? Hold on. See, I got an editing
made a
machine.
drug deal.
I was going to cut all that out. Y'all just yell all you want. I'm going to cut it out unless one person's talking where we can understand it.
That's why he took my son's cell phone.
Exactly.
Okay.
He kept it, and I had to order him a new one. It
There's
will never
one.
go
exactly
to
right.
Chandler's. He's the one that does drugs. He does cocaine
I
and
wanna
everything.
read-
You don't even know, Carrie. You don't know him. He
Would you
used do
agree
it
to
all
take
the
a test
time.
today?
So
Would you
will
agree?
I.
We take
Okay.
a drug test today.
God.
Do you
Okay.
agree?
This is ridiculous.
Do you agree to take a drug test today with
Ridiculous.
us? Do you agree to take a drug test today with us?
Both of you.
Do you
Do you know how
agree
many
to
drug
take
tests
a
I
drug-
take for my job?
Oh, very good. Do you
Jesus
agree?
Christ.
Answer the question, yes or no.
Well, then if she agrees to that, you'll pay child support.
I will if you pay child support. How's that?
No, you shouldn't. I
You
think-
lie. You don't pay child support. You won't even pay for her fees.
Okay, how much child
Quit
support?
lying about the money, and I'll take the drug test.
I'm going to read this
That
when
was
you
in
finish.
2005.
I mean, I understand how filibuster works, but I'm going to read this when you finish.
Filibuster, what's that?
Filibuster is when you just start talking about insignificant things to delay the point of the conversation.
Filibuster, dude.
And the point of this conversation is the second message that said, you said last night you wanted to come here and you would take the weed to my dad at 9A. Then come here. You never said, even sober, that you were staying a week. Did you write that?
I said what now?
Did you write those messages on your son's cell
I
phone?
wrote this supposedly. You are lying. You are lying. You are totally
What's
lying.
Stephanie's number?
This is-
I want to know.
Hold on, you guys. This is related to this incident here when he took the phone. Last Monday, I received a phone call on my cell phone, and it said Chandler. His name came up on it. And I said, oh, Chandler's phone. And I answered it, and I heard a baby in the background, and they hung up. So I called Carrie. I said, Carrie, you got Chandler's phone back? He goes, no, I never received it.
We've had it the
So
whole
I
time.
called the phone
Okay,
back.
They took the phone
We have
because
the phone.
they,
Why were they calling me?
Drug deals.
Oh.
I don't do drug deals, Carrie. I do not
Oh, so
do
Chandler,
drug deals.
Chandler, our son's doing
so
drug
who
deals.
wrote this?
I don't know. He wrote it.
Because he is so malicious.
Okay,
and so-
He is
but he doesn't.
vindictive
But
and
he does.
malicious.
Okay, but hold on. He doesn't have the other phone that was responding to these
Don't kid
things.
yourself. This guy has a lot of mechanics up there. Let me tell you.
He's got lots
he's
of
got-
money, so he can hire and
One
do
time-
whatever
wait,
he
wait.
wants.
One time he told the Campbell police that I threatened him, and they heard a record.
We're going to take we're going to take a break, just really because I need one. And then I'm going to talk about what I think needs to happen here. Okay, I'm back with Ken and new Carrie and old Carrie. And Julius, the fiance here. And, you know, I'm wondering, is there anybody among you four that is impacted by the absurdity and infantile nature of this back and forth?
I am with him.
I am.
I mean, do you
The way
get
he treats us
He treats us, her
and
on
the
the
kids.
telephone.
Oh, you perhaps misunderstood the question.
Well, break it down. Break it down.
I mean,
You mean besides the kids?
no.
Besides the kids
no,
are
let me.
first and
No,
foremost.
no.
Why won't Taylor
no.
come see you, Ken?
Oh, I wonder.
She won't come visit you right
Okay,
now.
hold on.
Thanks to you.
Thanks
I'm-
to me.
Yeah,
Thanks
nothing
to
to do with
you. Sorry, I won't interrupt anymore. I'm
Wait,
just
Dr.
really
Phil, can I
mad
say-
about the
No.
drug thing.
Why is the
Because-
reason she's not coming to see me?
Because
Because
she's afraid of
she's
you.
afraid of you.
She's
She
afraid of
tried
you.
to tell you
Verbally.
her feelings
Okay.
about how she felt
She's
about the
verbally
wedding.
afraid
but
of you.
your view
If I was
verbally
her, I
abusive
would
to
say I
her.
didn't want to see me either. You get the
And then you
give her
call the
wrath.
cops on her.
On her?
On her.
Or because you're
The-
withholding
on
her.
her.
The
I'm not
frequency
withholding
of
her.
marriage here in America is going to go down precipitously. If you're single and watching this show, this is not how it has to be. My point here is this is absurd. It's immature.
Thank you.
It is ridiculous, and it is highly, highly counterproductive to the children involved here that frankly don't get a vote. They don't have the leverage, the social power, even the vocabulary to say, will you people please stop? Will you please stop? Look, let me ask you a question. What do you want from Ken?
I just, on my notes, how do I deal with him? You know, 1 minute it's okay because he wants something like his wedding. He wants 2 extra weeks, and I'm the one that got Taylor's hair done. I asked him how he wanted it. I said, what do I do with Chandler's hair? I had no problem. Then once his wedding is over, he doesn't need me anymore. Then it's, who cares about Carrie? Then screw me over, right?
But here, look, here's the deal. And you may think that I pick on you, but what I'm trying to do is shake you into the reality that you are divorced.
I know that.
He's not required to be nice to you. He's not required to spend time with you.
What about the kids?
No, I'm getting to that. No, listen. Y'all have had plenty of time to talk. It's my turn. It's my turn. The fact that you say he needed me, so we had this dialogue, and then when he didn't need me anymore, then he didn't talk to me anymore. You're right. He doesn't need you anymore. The only relationship that the two of you have, and it will be your highest calling ever in this world, is as the co-allies of these children. And trust me, if you think for a second you are. I've said before, you can do this in such a way that you never have to speak to each other again if necessary. You can go through an intermediary. I think it's terrible if you have to do that. I think it is a ridiculous waste of resource for the children. But the point is, it's over. If the court has ordered him to pay X and he pays it, then there's nothing else you can do about it. You may think that he's hiding all of this income and that he has $90 billion that should be flowing to your children, then all you can do is prove that. You guys are educated, intelligent, articulate people, and you're behaving in this way, and your kids are paying the price. Now, you say to me, are you... If you are shortchanging your children, shame on you.
Never.
If you're
above and beyond.
Shame on you. He won't even pay for a yearbook, PE clothes, nothing. I asked him, he said in the last court session that he was going to ask Carrie's parents because that's how he lives. For the money for the PE uniforms.
I work 2 to 3 jobs to support 3 children that I love very much that are not mine. I do. And I give them everything and anything they want.
All right, when we come back, we're going to find out why Ken doesn't want Carrie to marry Julius. Well, I'm in the middle of a custody battle here, literally. I mean, Ken, Carrie, and Julius are here today talking about all of the ups and downs in the divorced world. And let me tell you, when you think about getting a divorce, you need to think about life after divorce, because it's not easy, and the children pick up the tab for all of this. Now, I've got a couple of questions, and I want you to be as responsive as you can. And so if you want to think about the question, and I'll ask another question and come back to you, I'm happy to do it. But I want to know what it is, and I'm not saying that you would do it, but I want to know what it is that he could do that would make you satisfied. What is it that he would have to do in order for you to say, peace has broken out?
How about when my daughter asks him
please don't bog down in details. Do you want more money? Do you want more freedom and less contact? Do you what can he do that would cause you to say, okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you very much, Dr. Phil. Nice knowing you.
I would like better communication. Maybe he should do some counseling with my oldest daughter alone.
So you're telling me that if he'll just chat you up better and do some individual therapy with your daughter, that this is all cured? That's
no,
it?
I don't. I mean, can't say it's going to be perfect, but that would be a good start with my daughter.
That they need to be, chasing after. I mean,
I don't want to be the one to have to tell him if she doesn't want to go and the reasons why. But the therapists are trying to make Ken and I talk.
I got y'all a therapist, and you blew it up.
We didn't blow it up.
She didn't go the last meeting.
I missed the last meeting. I missed the date. I don't know why he's so angry right now. I don't know why he's so upset.
Tell me why you don't want Carrie to marry Julius.
No, I think they have a lot in common, good match. No, I think it's a good thing. Unfortunately, my kids are going to get the brunt. My son Chandler has talked about Julio being physical with him on 2 different occasions, shoving his face. Because I think it's the kids saying whatever, it's hearsay. But to me, I don't know. It's got to end.
I have a question.
I got so many things.
Are you abusive with the kids at all?
No. Matter of fact, I'm actually the one.
He apologized to Chandler.
Yeah, because Skylar, he punched his little sister and threw sand in her face, and then he wouldn't say he was sorry. And what happened?
I just went up to him and said, "You should."
No, he didn't.
You don't know nothing. You weren't there. I went up to him, I pushed him in the back, I said, Chandler, what are you doing? And then he fell on his face in the sand.
And he gets up.
I wouldn't grab him and throw his face. No, I didn't push him literally. I just,
and we've heard you punish him for all kinds of stuff, Carrie.
Bring it up. Why didn't you say that before?
I didn't bring it up. I just didn't bring it up because it's not worth it.
Well, I may be talking to myself when I do it. When we come back, I'm going to say A, B, C, and D, what I think needs to happen here, and I'll let you say anything you want to say. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with Ken, his ex-wife Carrie, his new wife Carrie, and his ex-wife's fiance Julius. We're talking about life after divorce when kids are in the mix, which is something I take very seriously. Check your notes. Is there anything, and I'm not making fun of that. I mean, I want you to, in an organized way, look and see if there's anything that you want to go over. There's nothing wrong with taking notes.
Why didn't you take Skylar to the dentist yesterday?
You got to be kidding.
I want to know why.
We're on the Dr. Phil show. I can't believe you're wasting his time.
I would like to know why.
Why are you asking that question?
Because he does this to me all the time. He doesn't do the homework.
Because see, 80%
it drives me crazy.
80% of all own the accusation. What you're really saying when you said, why didn't you take Skylar to the dentist yesterday, is you're saying you're irresponsible and you're a saboteur and you don't really care about the kids. Isn't that pretty much what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Then why don't you just... Okay, but you're asking it as though you're trying to gather information.
I don't know how to say it anymore.
Well,
this is 6 years.
Him, and he doesn't know how to communicate well with her.
You think?
Oh, I know. Because I'm in the middle of it. I listen to it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times...
You've been here 6 years. I feel like I've been here 6 years. So I understand that they don't communicate. Look.
Dr. Phil, the communication thing is, to me, I don't talk to her because, to me, it's adding fuel to the fire. I can't pick up that phone and listen to the barrage of insults because I'm trying to make it stop for the kids' sake. I'm trying to make it just stop.
I don't have a lot of confidence that y'all are going to do what I'm telling you to do here. But the point is, I think that you gotta crawl before you walk and walk before you run. And it is clear to me that you two are you just throw sparks off. I think you've got a real chip on your shoulder. I think you resent the fact that you say that you're living on welfare, barely scraping by. and he's in a $1 million plus house and driving big cars and all of that, and you please.
I don't let the kids go without nothing.
I don't either.
We don't let the kids go without what they need, and that's why the chip is on my shoulder. Now you can go.
Thank you. It is what it is. Look, you're not going to argue your way into an equity. If you believe that there is something going on here, you've made insinuations to us that they're hiding money, that he's only been paid a certain amount, and that the rest of it's through her family, and so it's hidden, and how can he live this lifestyle with that small income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look, what you got to do is petition the court to appoint an ad litem for the children, investigate the situation. If there's fraud there, if there's anything being hidden there, if there's anything there, then there are legal recourse for that. But yelling and screaming and making the children endure that is not going to move you any closer to that goal or objective. I think at this point, when I say you got to crawl before you walk, there has to be some boundaries here. You two should not be communicating right now. I arranged for you to have very able therapy, and I encourage you to stay plugged into that. Let that be an intermediary. If you've got questions or requests, send them through the therapist to him. If you've got things, then there can be scheduled times. You can go through that. Now, your therapist yeoman-like work in this trying to create a co-parenting plan. I encourage you, I thank you, Dr. Plemons, and I encourage y'all to use that resource, stay plugged into that, but you need to stop your contact. You need to stop your contact right now. It's ridiculous. But I just want you to know that every time you go into the meltdown like we've had here today, you are making a conscious choice to inflict pain on your children. So it's no different than if you got a hot poker and stuck it on. You're making a conscious choice to inflict pain on your children. So please, please think about this. We'll be right back. Yeah. What do you want to say? If you would like us to update a guest that you have real interest in, knowing what's happened, what went on when they left here, then go to drphil.com and click Contact Dr. Phil and send us a message. We really do read all of those things. And wouldn't you love to come see a show? Don't you guys have a good time when you're here? If you're interested in being part of my audience, log on and click the button that says Be in the Audience, and we'll tell you how to do it. Tickets are free, and we really do have a great time when we're here. And we talk about things that matter with people who care, as we did today. So I thank everyone that was here today. I'll see you soon. So long.
All new Dr. Phil today.
I just want to have a child so bad.
How far will some women go to have a baby?
You've actually fantasized about having an affair.
I see men as a potential sperm donor.
What to do when only one of you wants a child?
I really want to be a mother, but I don't want to lose him.
Would you resent her if she got pregnant?
From age issues to costly fertility treatments.
I'm not putting ourselves in great debt for something that might not work.
Desperate to be a mom.
I think about life without Jordan, and I can't imagine it.
Plus,
our cameras are there.
As one couple finds out if their final attempt at getting pregnant worked.
Hello?
Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go, in 10.
Stand by, camera 6.
If it's happening now, we're going to deal with it now.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by, A, and roll A. Check in.
Go, Dr. Phil.
Thank you very much. Okay, now I have a question for you ladies out there. Just how far would you go to be a mother? If you couldn't have a child, if there was a problem, how far would you go? Well, today we're going to meet women so desperate to get pregnant that they're willing to risk just about anything. Now, the sound of a woman's biological clock can sometimes be ticking like a time bomb, and these women will just simply stop at nothing to get what they want, and what they want is a baby, and they want it right now. Now, my first guest problem is not getting pregnant. It's her husband not wanting to get pregnant. Now, when Keith and Tanya got married almost 6 years ago, they both agreed not to have children. Now, Tanya recently had a little change of heart. Some people call that bait and switch. You say one thing now and something later. And now she is absolutely obsessed with having a baby, thinks about it every day. But changing her mind may come at a very high cost. Take a look.
My husband and I have been married for 6 years, and I desperately want to have a child, but he does not.
I don't want to have a child. One of the things that attracted me to Tanya was the fact that she didn't want to have any kids.
When we first got married, I didn't want to have children, but I do now.
I thought the issue was done. I'm 48 years old and my wife is 35. Tanya told me 8 months ago that she had been having baby thoughts.
I was afraid to tell him because I was afraid he would leave me.
The very first time she said anything, I said, we have got some serious problems.
Motherhood is always on my mind. 9 times out of 10, when we discuss having a child, it ends up in a fight.
I have a low tolerance for children. It's the one thing that I just don't want to do.
I know I'm asking the impossible. And he has always been very emphatic that he did not want to have children.
I have 2 kids from a previous marriage, and they're teenagers, and I had a vasectomy over 15 years ago. I made that decision not to have any more kids.
I've had daydreams about how easy it would be to get pregnant by someone through an affair. I see other men as potential sperm donors.
It's a double-edged sword. Either Tanya's going to be happy or I'm going to be happy.
We have beat this horse to death, and we have not been able to resolve it.
I'm afraid it's going to tear us apart and we will end up in divorce.
It's a deal breaker for our marriage if we don't have kids.
My biggest fear is that I'm going to lose my wife.
I will resent Keith if I don't have a child, and it will be the end of our marriage.
Okay. Now, what happened here? Because up front you said, no, I'm okay with not having children. Did you mean that when you said it?
I did. I really didn't think I wanted to have children then. And looking back now, I feel like that I shouldn't have said, no, I don't want to ever have children. I should have said, I don't want to have children now, but I don't know what the future holds, because I had no idea that I would change my mind.
Yeah, you never say never, as they say.
I've learned that now.
How y'all get along, aside from this?
Wonderfully.
We have a wonderful relationship.
And that's part of the problem.
That is the very big problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we
and
have
it sounds funny that that's a problem, but that is part of the problem. You don't want to jeopardize that.
That's absolutely the truth.
Yes.
The worst thing that I can see happening to me in the future is I lose my wife.
Because he said one of the reasons that he fell in love with you is that he had had his children and you didn't feel the need for children, and so that was very appealing to him.
And I didn't.
And you've actually fantasized about having an affair, not because you want to go out and have sex. You're just looking for a sperm donor.
And that is, it's embarrassing and it's sad to say, but I see men as a potential sperm donor. I see someone, and I'm thinking about this all the time, and I think how easy it would be to just get pregnant.
This isn't just you woke up one day and said, you know, I think I do want a kid. This is a deep, longing and yearning on your part, right?
Yes. I thought for the first few weeks that I started having baby thoughts, is what I call it, that it was something that would go away. And I hoped it would go away because I was afraid to tell Keith, and I was afraid of what it would do to us.
At this point, you know she's hurting about this, right?
Absolutely.
And this is a painful thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
right?
Terry, I really want to be a mother, but I don't want to lose him. I want us to be that happy family. I want us to bond together and grow together like couples do when they have a baby. I want it to be a happy experience, not tear us apart.
Do you feel that you would resent her if she got pregnant?
On one hand, I would resent the fact that it's not what I wanted, but then in my mind I say, I love her and I should be able to do this for her. And I just can't. And that's what hurts me, is I'm willing to do it because I love her, but in my mind it's just not something I want.
Is this a deal breaker? You know, it doesn't always turn out happy when a child is introduced, and it changes things, changes freedom, causes sacrifice, changes the dynamic of the relationship. A lot of balls in the air here. I'm going to tell you what I think when we come back.
I worry about having a child now because I'm 48.
Many people have children even though they're older.
I don't want to be 70 years old and having a teenager.
I'm willing to sacrifice and do what it takes to have a baby.
Raising another child was not how I saw my retirement.
When I see a husband and wife and their child, I don't know if I will have that.
One side of me says have another child to make Tanya happy, but the other side of me says you're going to make yourself miserable. I'm a very selfish person. I like my time with her. It's going to totally change the way we are.
Well, imagine being a woman so obsessed with having a baby that you'd sacrifice your finances, relationship, maybe even your marriage to make it happen because it's such a powerful and overwhelming drive. Now, we're here with Tanya, who basically has changed her mind. She's essentially reneged on a deal that she made previously with her husband Keith and waited 6 years to do it with regard to not wanting children. Are you at all concerned that the boy's getting a little long in the tooth? I mean, he is 48.
I know age is important, and I know that he may not be able to do all of those things that, say, a dad who's in his 20s and 30s are able to do with their son or daughter, but I don't think age is a reason not to have a child. In this sense, it's not like he's 70 now. I mean, so I can't see that 48 to me is not old. So it's not a reason to not have a child.
And he looks pretty frisky.
He is.
He looks pretty frisky.
Healthy.
I think one of the things that you have to do in negotiation is first to assess your positions. And I'm sure you're not looking forward to the prospects of a surgery.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And, you know, it's called a vas-deferral reanastomosis. And
yeah, okay.
That's where they put them back together.
Right.
And I have to tell you, Robin and I had one child, Jay. And not 6, but 7 years later, after she had agreed, we'll just have one. We said we would have one, and she said she was good with that, and I was good with that. So I had a vasectomy. And 7 years later, I heard her telling somebody else, not intended for my ears, she said one of the things she regretted most in her life was agreeing to have just one child. And she was telling someone this, she said it's one of the things that she regretted the most. True?
Very true.
You are such a crybaby.
because I sit here right now and I think about living my life without Jordan, and I can't imagine it.
That's Robin with Jordan. So that's the rest of the story. But at the time, really what I asked myself is, I said, I've got to assess my position. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is she on wanting a baby? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I on not wanting a baby? And it was clear to me, as it is with you, she was a 10. She was a 10 for 10 on wanting a baby. And I sat down and thought it through, and in honest assessment, I had to say I don't know, it varied across a couple of days, but I was like a 2 to a 5 on not wanting another baby. And so my assessment was, just being a logical male, I kind of did the math and said, this is hugely important to her to do, and only mildly important to me to not do, and I didn't feel like I should assert my mild preference over her overwhelming desire. And I did want to be sure she was a 10. So I was making rounds at the hospital, and I actually called her and said, well, I'm getting ready to go in and talk to this woman that's wanting to have a baby, and her husband he's not that hot on it, so I guess I kind of need to go in and see if I can talk her out of it. Oh, my God. She got up on her hind legs. She said, don't you do that. Don't you go in that hospital room and tell that lady she's not going to have a baby. Don't you do that. She knows what she wants. Because she didn't know I'd heard her, that I had heard what she had said. So I was just kind of giving her a little test to see if she was really a 10. And so I hung up the phone, and our OBGYN that had delivered Jay was standing there, and he said, let's go do it. I said, get away from me, you're a gynecologist. What do you know about this? And he said, well, my brother-in-law is a urological surgeon, and he does this microsurgery, and I just paged him. He's here in the building. And she didn't know it until after I had done it. Because I didn't want her feeling like she had pushed me into it. I just made the decision. And I have to say, like Robin, I just can't imagine living my life without knowing Jordan. So I probably should recuse myself from this process. But where are you? Are you a 10 on a 10?
Yes.
Where are you on a 1 to 10?
Between a 7 and a 10. Sometimes I'm like, absolutely not. And when I heard that, I'm a 5. I mean, I love her so much, Dr. Phil. And I'm not going to have this ruin us. I'm not going to let it happen.
But I don't want to make him miserable by making him do something that I know this is the one thing in the world.
And I'll tell you, that's why I did it the way I did it. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys pulled me up, the surgeon and our OBGYN pulled me up in front of the house, opened the door, put me out, and put a blue baby gift and a pink baby gift under each arm and sent me walking up the driveway. And let me tell you, you walk real funny.
Oh, I remember the first part.
Yeah, oh, it ain't nothing. Come on, I don't want to kid you.
I've heard.
I don't want to kid you about that.
I have had friends tell me that it's
I don't want to kid you about that. But I mean, it's not horrible, but you do walk funny for a while.
Those doctors aren't backstage, are they?
Not as far as you know. But I mean, you know, I guess it comes down. It comes down to this for you and for me. Part of being a husband, part of being a partner in life is, I really do, I don't consider myself a paragon of marriage or mental health, but I do wake up every day and kind of part of my psychological DNA is to say, what can I do today to make her life better? What can I do today to make her happier, more joyful, more wonderful life? And on that day, when I woke up, I had a huge opportunity to absolutely light up her life. And so, was there a cost to me to do it? Yeah, both short and long term. I mean, the short-term penalty, and then long-term, and I really did think about, you know, we were coaching t-ball at the time and soccer, and I'm standing out there freezing on that soccer field. And then when we got pregnant again, I said, okay, in 7 years, I'm going to be standing here freezing again. And so I coached basketball for 14 years at the Y instead of 7, because they're 7 years apart. And they told us we would have a 50-50 chance of being fertile within 1.5 years. And 6 weeks later, my boys did the job. This is something that you two are going to have to sit down and discuss thoughtfully. But I'm trying to give you some food for thought about how to negotiate this. And here's the problem. I've been doing this a long time. This isn't going to go away. No. And you have to ask yourself if this is your chance, this is your window to light up her life. And is it a price that you can and are willing to pay?
And not be so selfish.
Well, it's not really selfishness. It's, you have legitimate points, you have legitimate concerns and considerations, and you would have to do thoughtful planning. You're not a bad guy for feeling the way you feel. But relationships are give and take, and you fell in love with her, I didn't.
But can you blame me?
No.
I mean,
no, I can't. All right. Will you all think about this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. All right, we're going to continue this conversation. And coming up, we're going to meet a woman who has considered going behind her husband's back and charging fertility treatments on her credit card so she can have a baby. Not a good plan, but maybe there's an alternative. We'll be right back.
I've spent approximately $5,000 on fertility drugs. We've wasted a lot of money on it.
The future between my wife and I is definitely up in the air.
Well, 4 million women in this country get pregnant every year. Now, that's about 10,958 a day. Now, that statistic leaves women like my next guest asking, why can't that be me? Eric and Michelle have been married just over a year. Now, Eric refuses to spend another dime on fertility treatments because it's just not a sure thing. Michelle says, sorry, I just can't take no for an answer.
My husband and I definitely want to have children together, but we have different views of how far we're going to go in order to get that.
The obsession with having children with my wife is definitely a distraction.
We argue almost on a daily basis.
I've told Michelle to stop any of these procedures because we don't have the money.
I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. I have to go through a lot of medications, and recently my doctor is wanting me to do injectables.
I don't think spending $2,500 with very little chance of it working is worth that at all.
Eric definitely does not want to pay for any of it. Eric's main reason for not wanting to have children at this time was to purchase a house.
Those extra expenses makes it very difficult meeting our monthly budget.
I've spent approximately $5,000 on fertility drugs. We've wasted a lot of money on it.
I very much wish that I had the old Michelle back.
Emotionally, we're both drained. Financially, we're draining.
It is a fear of mine that I will end up having some resentment towards her. The future between my wife and I is definitely up in the air.
I would keep trying until I was broke.
Well, you have a sense of urgency here, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
I've wanted to have children since I was little, and it's always been a dream of mine other than getting married. So I would do almost anything.
And you don't object to having children, right?
Oh, if I could have a child right now, it would be there. We wouldn't be here.
Right. So you just do it and
absolutely
and move on. Mm-hmm. So your objection is what?
I'm not on board putting ourselves behind the 8 ball, putting ourselves in great debt just for something that might not happen, might not work.
You said you'd rather put that in an item you know you're going to get, like a house or whatever.
Yes,
because
exactly.
at least you make the investment, you get the item. And what do you say to that?
I always say you can always buy a house, you can't always have a child. And I just want to have a child so bad. And it's really hard because the doctors are telling me that the medication's not working so far, and I just want to do anything that I can to be able to keep trying.
If you stop now because he doesn't want to continue to spend the money on this, how are you going to feel about that?
I think I'll regret it. I don't want to end up down the road in a divorce. And I don't want to regret my decision to marry him. He knew from the very beginning that I wanted to have children.
And you've contemplated selling stuff on eBay, I mean, doing anything you could to get the money to do this and have an opportunity.
Absolutely. I was ready to go behind his back and just charge it to my account, and he wouldn't know.
You don't want her to do that. You don't want her,
not at all,
you know, putting this on credit cards, selling stuff in the house. You go to sit down in a chair and fall on the floor.
If she wanted to, or if she had the ability to do so, we would sit on milk crates. Absolutely.
In order to have a baby.
Sure, absolutely.
What'd you think about the conversation I just had with this lovely couple down here?
It's definitely a reversal from what we are, in the aspect of, you know, they were deciding right from the start that they did not want to have children, and right from the start we did, and it's just impossible.
Is that all you got out of that conversation, was the differences between you and them?
No. You definitely have to want it. You know, both people have to be on board. Both parties do, and
I
we
feel
are.
that he's not on board with me all the time, though. He's just, we fight about it every day.
Okay, so will Michelle be willing to wait out having a baby? We're going to talk about that when we come back.
It's definitely a desperate situation. It makes me angry when he doesn't understand how hard it is for me to get pregnant, and he doesn't want to try.
I do understand Michelle's urgency to have a child. I do not understand the rationale to go into debt for it, though.
Well, we're talking about women that are desperate to become moms. Now, we're here with Michelle, who wants a baby right now. She doesn't want it tomorrow. She doesn't want it 9 months from now. She'd really like to have it right now. But the clock is ticking, and so she feels a sense of urgency to do everything she can now to try to maximize this. Now, her husband, Eric, says he's just not willing to spend any more money on fertility treatments because there's just no guarantee of a baby. So if you invest in a thing, you get the thing. Here you're investing and you may not get the thing. And that's just the logic of it. You say we're pouring money down a hole and we don't know whether we're getting it back or not.
Absolutely.
But do you understand that you're not investing in a thing? You're not even investing in the process that might bring you the thing. You're investing in your relationship. You're investing in your family. You're investing in your future. You know, she didn't want to have the problem that she has. She didn't want to have this polycystic ovarian problem. She didn't want to have that. She didn't choose that. And she doesn't have that. This couple has that. And there are some things you can and need to do, and I want to help you with that. For every thought you have, there's a physiological correlate. Right now, you are stressed, you are angry, you are biochemically, physiologically setting yourself up in the least fertile state you could possibly get.
Right.
So we've got to do everything we can to calm you down whether it's a natural fertilization or some other type of fertilization, you're putting yourself in a bad frame of mind for getting pregnant.
I cringe when I hear that because with my condition, you might only ovulate, I might only ovulate 2 to 3 times a year,
right.
And which makes it really impossible to try to get pregnant. So I can relax till all I want, and it's not going to help me. You know, I need to continue with the medications in order to get.
I'm not saying you don't, but don't just poo-poo. You cringe every time you hear that because you don't want to hear it. It nevertheless is the fact. What are you thinking about what I'm saying here? When I say you're not investing in an inexact science, you're not investing in a low probability process, you're investing in your relationship and your future.
I understand that investing in or paying for the procedures would definitely help our relationship. It would create a stronger bond than what we have. But I just have a hard time understanding the point in going into debt. I understand you can never afford a baby. You know, you're never financially sound to have a baby and things like that. But just for a very short.
And see, I understand the male logic here. I really do. But what are you going to do if you have a baby and it has a problem, say at 2 years of age, and they say, well, we think we can fix this. You know, the procedure's $20,000, but I don't know. You know, it might cure him and it might not. What are you going to do? Say, well, I'm not pouring money down that hole.
At that point, we're living on milk crates.
But
Absolutely.
I mean, you wouldn't deny the opportunity to try to fix the problem then, would you?
Correct. No.
Well, you're just trying to fix the problem now. And you might have to fix it then, too. I mean, that's just part of the deal. Because you don't want to spend that money on a house that she resents every time she walks in. It's okay, yeah, we got a house. Fine. This would have been the nursery. Ass.
And I don't want that. I understand.
I mean, you get that, right?
Oh, I got that.
Yeah. How am I doing?
Doing good. Like it.
I mean, really, this is what you're saying. I ask you if you would invest in your child's treatment if he or she became sick, and of course you would. Yes. You said I'd do whatever. I'd be living on milk crates if I had to.
Absolutely.
You'd do whatever. Well, your wife has a problem now. And she's asking you to invest in that.
I guess we'll have to talk about this some more.
I guess we will. Think about it. I mean, really. All right. Now, coming up, we're going to talk to a good friend of our show, a good friend of mine. You've all seen him. You all know him. Fitness expert Robert Reams and his wife are here to share their struggle to have another baby. We'll be right back.
My wife, Armene, and I have been trying to have a second child.
We've tried just about everything to try and get pregnant in the last 5 years.
Our chances were not great for using Armene's own eggs.
This will be our last attempt at in vitro fertilization.
Well, today we're talking to couples. We're talking to women in particular who want nothing more than to get pregnant. Their husbands, some who are okay with it, some who are not. One of our next guests is someone that's very familiar to many of you out there. I call him a pain merchant. He calls himself a workout expert, but actually he just delivers pain to me. I've been working with Robert Reams for years on this show and at home in my gym. He's been helping men and women struggling with various weight loss issues. Now, recently, Robert and his wife, Armene, have been dealing with a very painful struggle of their own, really for the last 5 years, the problem of infertility. Take a look. Robert Reams is a nutrition expert. Robert, come up here for a minute.
I am the trainer for the Dr. Phil Show.
25.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to help people with some of their struggles. Well, today I'm going to share a story of my family. My wife, Armene, and I have been trying to have a second child.
We've tried just about everything to try and get pregnant in the last 5 years. I am in my mid-40s, and I definitely would like to have a brother or sister for Audrey.
We've done a number of IVF cycles. They've not been successful.
It was very painful to hear about other women who were getting pregnant in their mid-40s. The first time I tried in vitro fertilization, I was angry. I thought, why do I have to go through this? I hated giving myself the shots.
The first time that we tried IVF, it didn't work.
The second time, we had great results. We had 7 embryos. We put all 7 back in because of my age. None of them took. The third time, we did not get great results. Then I got pregnant naturally. That did not result in a live birth either. This is the 5th one.
Well, we put him inside the uterus. Dr. Paulson laid it out for us. Our chances were not great for using Armene's own eggs.
The specialist told me that my eggs were too old. The process of finding donor eggs is a very difficult one.
We were trying to find the right donor at the right price. They would go from $5,000 to $25,000.
Focusing on having a second child has been all-consuming. This will be our last attempt at in vitro fertilization. If I find out that we don't have any more embryos, I will be devastated. I will be relieved. I will try to move on. Somehow I can maybe forgive myself for having one great child, and this is our family, and it's okay.
This has been tough, right? I mean, not only just physically, the procedures that you go through, but it's tough not knowing and wondering and waiting. And I mean, how has that affected you?
Each time kind of like a roller coaster. You know, you do the procedure, you're hopeful, and you start to think about the possibility, and then you don't get the news you want. So. And
part of this is hormonal therapy?
Yeah.
Does that affect her moods and
yes,
all?
Yes, it does.
Just a little. Just
Yeah.
a little.
Just a little.
How did you cross the threshold that Eric is at now? I mean, because you had to make a decision, because this, a lot of money went places that went to this that would have gone other places.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you know, watching both couples, I've learned a lot and just kind of seen a lot of our journey in their situation. But the financial thing was like, you know, I'm in a position in my life where I think I can get the money back. But what I can't get back is these times when we're still young enough to raise a kid.
Because you're in your 40s now, and you know you're going to do it now or it's not going to happen.
This is it. This is
I want to see, we have to seize the opportunity because it's here and we can do it. So in my mind, because it's important to both of us, I'm going to pull out all the stops that I can.
Well, a few days ago, Robert and Armene had their last donor eggs thawed to determine if they were healthy for another attempt at in vitro fertilization. Next, our cameras are there when they receive a phone call that is either going to be a stark reality or possibly a life-changing event. We'll be right back.
So today we are waiting for a phone call from our doctor to let us know the status of the embryos, if they have indeed survived the thaw, and if they're suitable for transfer.
If it doesn't work this time, this is the end of the road.
Robert and his wife Armene have tried in vitro fertilization now a number of times. Now, before their last attempt, Armene's doctor told her that at age 47, she just frankly was too old to use her own eggs, so they decided on donor eggs. Now, days ago, they began their 7th and final attempt at an in vitro fertilization.
Today, we're waiting for the call from the doctor to give us the status of these 7 embryos and where we go from here. Hey, Dr. Paulson, how you doing? Good, good. You mind if I put you on speaker? Okay, 1 second.
Okay, what do we got?
So I want to give you the update.
Okay.
So we went ahead and we thawed 3 embryos.
and all of them survived. And then we'll look at them again tomorrow, and we'll put them in.
All right, it's good news.
Excellent.
All right, thanks for your call.
Thanks, Dr. Paulson.
Bye.
I'm excited.
We'll see. I hope they're okay. I hope they keep dividing. I hope they're good little embryos.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Here's a picture of your babies. So one of them looks like an 8-cell, and one is 4, and one is 5, or at least that's where they were last time they looked at them under the microscope, because then they put them away again. You doing okay, Armene?
Yeah.
No cramping?
No.
Then here we go.
Robert has been extremely supportive throughout this entire process, and he's been there for me every inch of the way.
So this bright white spot?
Yeah.
That's where they are now.
So the transfer went perfectly now.
Yeah.
Most important instruction is be sure to become pregnant, okay?
Absolutely. Your mouth to God's ears.
Well, Robert and Armene will find out in a week whether or not they are pregnant. So it'll be very soon, right? You can follow their story on our website at drphil.com. Now, we're going to host video updates there. So all you have to do is log on, and that, of course, takes you to our homepage. There it is. Now, we just redesigned the website, and it has all kinds of features. So click on the Today's Show page. It's called Desperate to Be a Mom. Once you're there, click on Robert and Armene's update. Actually, we've already got a message up, so let's take a look.
Armene and Rob, hi, it's Dr. Paulson. Since I was the last to hold your embryos in my hands, it seems only fitting that I should be the first to wish you all the best toward a successful outcome of this treatment cycle.
So we're going to track you guys on the website, okay? We want to know what's happening each step of the way so we can follow you along. And we wish you guys the absolute best.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Okay, so Tanya and Keith, what do you do here? What's the next step?
You opened my eyes to something. I hadn't heard it put quite that way. When you said you can make this something that, will make her happy. And I mean, yes, I knew it would make her happy, but it was just the way that you put it. And that really hit home for me. It really did. So I'm going to look into some options and check into a few things.
I also understand what you're saying about you have such a wonderful life. And we were surprised when Robin was pregnant the first time with Jay. Or at least I was.
I wasn't that surprised.
I don't think she was surprised, but no, we were surprised about that. And, my thought at the time, selfishly, not having a great yearning for children was, I married a young, vibrant, sexy, energetic, fun girl. I don't want to be married to somebody other than that. And now we're going to bring a kid in here and all that sort of stuff. And we just resolved to continue to be who we were as a couple. And we were married 31 years last week. We've had an absolute ball every step of the way. I mean, we waited for the terrible twos, they never came. We waited for the rebellious teen years, they never came. I waited for them to move out, and they did. So it was a good thing. What's your thinking, Eric?
I definitely understand that I need to maybe understand her point and try to do my best to meet her at least halfway in this.
And maybe what you have to do is sit down and negotiate some type of budget for this. I mean, that you work out together and you decide how the sacrifices are going to be made. And like you said, you don't just bankrupt yourselves forevermore, but you at least make a commitment and say, we're going to go this far, and we'll see where we are at that point. It's not just like there's no end to this. But, you know, it's like Robert said, he crossed the threshold of saying, I'm going to do everything I can while I can. Because that house is a pile of bricks. Those cars are a bunch of sheet metal. And this is your life. And let me tell you, life is brief and time is a thief. And it goes so quick. Thanks for being here today. drphil.com. We'll have all you want to know about this. So long.
All new Dr. Phil today. The Drew Peterson case exclusive.
Her words exactly. If I disappear, it's not an accident. He killed me.
Now, never before heard stories.
His demeanor and his attitude. I mean, he's almost dancing on her grave, Dr. Phil.
And what Drew Peterson told me. Not one word of concern about his wife, not one word of concern about his children.
From Kathy Savio's Police for Help.
I said, does it get physical? And she says, definitely.
To the new autopsy results.
Clearly she was beaten. He says homicide.
Plus, Drew Peterson's former fiance's shocking statement.
Do you think he's involved in Stacy's disappearance?
It just seems like too many things point towards that behavior.
Then, in the wake of the Peterson mystery,
she fears that she may be the next headline.
I am scared of dying at the hands of my husband.
Why this woman stays with her abuser.
He said, I'm gonna bury your body in the woods where no one can find you.
And the man who's making the deadly threats.
Did you say, I just want to bash your face?
I've said that.
You don't trust yourself, do you? Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go, in 10.
Stand by, camera 6.
If it's happening now, we're going to deal with it now.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by A, and roll A, check in.
Go, Dr. Phil.
Well, today we are highlighting a very disturbing story that has captivated the country. We're talking about a missing wife, her police officer husband who is suspected in her disappearance, and the shocking twist of an ex-wife who has died mysteriously. I'm obviously talking about the case of Drew Peterson and his missing wife, Stacy. What really happened here? Is he involved, or is he being falsely accused and caught up in a firestorm of media? Take a look at this ever-changing story.
Still no sign of a police officer's fourth wife.
It's the search for Stacy, the missing wife of a police sergeant.
I guess I'm a big story, but it's really a waste of all your time.
Illinois State Police searched 9 areas today.
If the network would put some effort into helping these people losing their homes all over the country because of the poor economies, I think it would be a nicer thing rather than harassing me.
A group from Texas is joining the search for suburban mother Stacy Peterson.
When family members last talked to 23-year-old Stacy Peterson Sunday, she agreed to meet them to paint a house. And when she hadn't called by 4 a.m., Peterson's sister filed a missing persons report.
She feared for her life and she wanted a divorce.
Kale says Stacy planned to meet with the divorce attorney as early as Monday.
Peterson's husband, Drew, says she left on her own.
I don't believe that. She wouldn't leave the kids. If she did, she'd call.
Stacy is Peterson's fourth wife and mother to their 2 small children, ages 4 and 2.
New developments tonight in the search for Stacy Peterson.
Stacy Peterson has been missing since October 28th.
And while an intensive search continues tonight, this case comes with a very disturbing twist.
The Will County State's Attorney's Office has ordered the body of third wife, Kathleen Savio, exhumed.
Savio died mysteriously 3 years ago.
Savio's family believes she was murdered. She told them she feared Drew Peterson would kill her. Sources tell CBS 2 Bolingbrook police were called to the home nearly 20 times for domestic disputes during that marriage.
There's new information about a mysterious blue barrel connected to the Stacy Peterson case.
New information about Stacy Peterson Peterson.
Police have just identified the man who helped Peterson's husband remove a large blue barrel from his home.
One of Drew Peterson's relatives told authorities he helped the former cop move a large barrel. The same weekend, Stacy disappeared.
First of all, there was no barrel. There never was a drum.
A neighbor claims the barrel was big enough for a body.
It's just the whole thing. It seems like an ever-growing rumor.
I think the guy is guilty. There's just too much evidence.
Well, I'm waiting for my 8th grade prom date to show up and say I was a bad kisser.
Investigators have wrapped up a second search of the pond without finding anything. Police, divers, and dogs scoured for clues all day.
Tonight, what she told a church official in the weeks before her disappearance.
Stacy Peterson met with a member of the church's pastoral staff in late August, 2 months before she vanished. The 23-year-old told that church official she feared bodily harm at Drew Peterson's hands.
A mysterious letter has surfaced that says Stacy Peterson may still be alive.
The writer, who did not sign the letter, tells of seeing the missing woman inside a Kroger food market in Peoria, November 12th.
Just seems to be coincidental. All of a sudden, here's this letter.
Today, volunteer search crews came up short after looking for signs of Peterson in a wooded area near her home.
Investigators have already searched a nearby pond and the family's home.
Volunteers continue searching.
Stacy's friends believe she is the victim of foul play.
She felt, if I disappear, it's not an accident. He killed me.
Well, I spoke to Drew Peterson myself. His lawyers would not let him speak on camera, but I did have a conversation with him that was very important to me because I wanted to get a feel for his emotion. Was it appropriate? Was it not? Where did he stand in all this? I'm going to tell you about that later. But first, Kyle Pearson dated Drew Peterson years ago and was engaged to him for 4 months. She said he was controlling, calculating, and even stalked her. Take a look.
I could have been Mrs. Peterson number 2. I was engaged to Drew Peterson 25 years ago. When they exhumed Kathleen's body, I was extremely creeped out.
Will County State's Attorney's Office has ordered the body of third wife, Kathleen Savio, exhumed.
When I first met Drew, he was very outgoing, very funny, and very charming. He was a police officer, a decent guy. My family liked Drew, but after we had gotten engaged, he became a lot more controlling. He would get really upset if I wanted to go out with my friends. When I came home, he would be following me. At 20 years old, I thought I'm just not ready and felt like I was really losing my life. I called off the engagement. About 2 weeks after we broke up, we got into an argument. It got physical, and I ended up on the floor. He pushed me, he straddled me, pinned me to the ground in a police hold, pressed his knees against my arms to keep me down. I did call the police. They sent over an officer, which happened to be one of his friends, and he convinced me not to press charges. Then it was 1.5 years, him stalking me. Drew would follow me. He would pull me over. He wrote me tickets for silly things, bald tires, lights not bright enough. Sometimes he would just pull me over to harass me. And he always had a big smile on his face. When I saw Drew on the Today Show, I could see that same kind of smirkish smile on his face. Being a police officer, he wants to be in control. Drew could have murdered Kathleen. Drew is probably responsible for Stacy being missing. He's calculating and has been on the police force long enough to figure out how things work. I could have probably ended up like Kathleen or Stacy. I guess I'm lucky.
All right, Kyle, I'm glad you're here. And before I talk to you, I also want to introduce Court TV correspondent Lisa Bloom. Now, Lisa has been following this case very closely. Obviously, has been on our show before, and she believes that Drew fits the profile of a killer. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. You say he stalked you.
Correct.
What's your reaction to all of this?
Well, I think I'm lucky.
Think you dodged a bullet here?
I do. I think kind of all his physical abuse kind of started with me, actually.
Why did you get out?
Well, because there were, I mean, it felt uncomfortable. He didn't want me going out with my friends, and it started to appear to me that he wasn't comfortable with me having my own life outside of him and his 2 kids from a previous marriage.
Do you think he killed Kathy Savio? Do you think he's involved in Stacy's disappearance?
After hearing the stories, though, the circumstances of both of them, it just seems like too many things point towards that behavior.
Lisa, you say you think he has the profile of a killer. What do you see and why do you think that?
Well, first of all, his story is preposterous, that she ran off with another man. She didn't take her car. She didn't come back and talk to her kids. She's never called her family. She hasn't used a credit card. She hasn't used a cell phone. I mean, that's just insulting to all of our intelligence. You know, a lot of guys, like Scott Peterson, when their wife is missing, they say, well, she took off. I don't know what happened. He's got a story. He's got a story that he gave. He's got to stick to that story, and it's preposterous. The second thing is his demeanor and his attitude. I mean, he's almost dancing on her grave, Dr. Phil. He's doing a little jig in the driveway in front of the reporters. He's making jokes about posing for Playgirl. I mean, something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah, and I talked to him. I want to tell you what he said to me and get your reaction to that and how it fits with the pattern and the facts of the case that I know you've been following. We're also going to add a woman who 100% believes that Drew killed his wife, Stacey. We'll be right back.
With a lot of the media, it's almost like he's guilty before he's been nailed or convicted.
You don't go out and smile and talk to the media and treat it like it's a circus.
Well, I think a lot of things were covered up.
She was worried about this guy.
It's scary. It makes you feel like even if you're in a bad relationship, it's really hard to get out.
And later.
My husband was in a rage. He said, I could kill you right now. I could just kill you.
I grabbed her by the arm, and I was squeezing her arm as hard as I could. I was physically enraged to the point where I think I was trying to crush her wrist.
I believe if he could get away with it, he probably would kill me.
Everybody has different fuses. Some are shorter than others, but I think everybody's fuse makes it to the dynamite sooner or later.
Drew Peterson doesn't even say this is a tragedy. He's been very flippant about his wife's disappearance. Drew Peterson supposedly has told people in the past that he could kill somebody and he could get away with it. And he's a police officer, so he may be a little better at it. It's actually very difficult to transport and dispose of a body without being detected. The question is, where is she? And if she's deceased, where is her body? She's a petite woman, only about 100 pounds. She would, unfortunately, have fit into that blue barrel.
You've heard me talk about a lot on this show about domestic violence, and unfortunately domestic violence doesn't just stop with verbal and physical abuse, which is bad enough on its own, but it can escalate to people getting killed, people disappearing. We're talking today about husbands who are described as manipulative, scary, and dangerously controlling. Now, Drew Peterson has been called all of those things and is now the prime suspect in his wife Stacey's disappearance. Now, Court TV correspondent Lisa Bloom is here. She feels Drew is certainly not playing the part of the grieving husband. Now, I talked to Drew on the phone, and I think his lawyers feel like I'm the last guy they want him to sit down and talk to look into his soul and ask the hard questions. But one of the things that bothers me about this is I always look to see if the person's emotion, if their affect is appropriate to the circumstance. I don't care if you don't care about your wife anymore, you would still at least care about the mother of your children gone missing in some way. And I just haven't seen any appropriate emotion or affect about that. I mean, and it's been, I mean, you've seen every inch of tape there has been. Do you ever see anything appropriate with him?
No, he seems to be having the time of his life, doing media interviews, the fact that they're all camped out in front of his home. And think about his story, Dr. Phil. If she really ran off with another man, wouldn't he be concerned that he hasn't heard from her, that the children haven't heard? Well, maybe this other man did something to her. He never says that.
You would think. I asked him, what do you think happened? And he said, I don't know, I don't have any idea. Now, he had said before that he thought she ran off with somebody.
That's a change in a story then.
So he said, I don't know, I can't even guess. He said, if I cry, everybody says I'm faking it. If I laugh, they say I'm being unsympathetic. So he says, I can't move, I can't stand still, is his position.
No, but he goes beyond that. We could understand if he cried or if he was stoic. We could understand that. What we can't understand is dancing the jig in the driveway in front of the media, making jokes about posing for Playgirl, that kind of a thing. I mean, that's beyond any kind of normal grieving, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, he told me, he said, I'm expecting them to drag up my 8th grade prom date at this point to say I'm not a good kisser.
Yeah, as if Kyle is in that category,
yeah,
by the way. How
yeah.
insulting to her.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. They were actually engaged. Now, I also said to him, I said, now, Mr. Peterson, you're in law enforcement. You have to agree and acknowledge, because he said everybody's focused on him. I said, as a law enforcement officer, you've done investigations, you've gathered evidence. Don't you have to admit that if this wasn't you and you were investigating it, you look good for this? You look like a really good suspect for this based on everything that's gone on. And he thought for a long time and he said, well, you know what, I guess I really do look like a good suspect. If I was investigating this, I think I would be looking at me as well.
And he's left in his wake a trail of women who were threatened, harassed, one is dead, and one is missing.
It was interesting. He really kind of took with me this attitude of being a victim at this point. He said, where do I go with the rest of my life at this point? I've lost one wife, now another one is missing, and the concern has shifted to getting a story. What do I do for the rest of my life?
Right.
He was really feeling sorry.
Concern for Stacey.
Yeah, his concern was for himself. And he said, there are two things that I want to get out. He said, I'm going to tell you this just between you and me. And then he never finished that thought. Then he went to another thought and said, I told People magazine this, but they cut it out. He said, both of these women were severely abused. Kathleen and Stacey were both severely abused. And then he rolled into talking about the fact that Stacey's mother abandoned her family 9 years ago, and that nobody's paying any attention to all that, as though it explains her disappearance.
Right.
Now, Drew's former employee, Terry, is also here with his wife, Carol. Terry was hired by Drew 8 years ago to work at his company, and Drew was then married at that time to Kathleen Savio. Terry's wife, Carol, believes that Drew is responsible for Kathleen's death and Stacey's disappearance. Take a look.
Drew Peterson's third wife, Kathleen Salvio, died mysteriously 3 years ago.
When I heard Kathleen was dead, I said to my husband, he did it. Drew did it.
Savio's family believes she was murdered. They say she told them she feared Peterson would kill her.
My husband, Terry, worked with Drew.
It was obvious that she was extremely afraid of him.
I didn't like him from the very beginning. He had beaten up Kathleen. I was mortified. Her eye, it was all black and blue, and she had bruises on her arms.
I said, I've got a big house, so you can come up there anytime if you need to get away.
I said, I don't want to interfere, but I just want you to know that you have a place to go if you need one. She thanked me, but I never received a phone call. Looking back on it and what happened to Kathleen, I am 100% sure that Drew murdered Stacey.
Carol, why do you say you are so certain that this is true? You feel it in your heart, don't you?
This is not somebody that their wife just walked out on them, that just disappeared. He doesn't know anything about it.
Terry, both of y'all say you saw Kathleen coming to work with sunglasses, and behind the sunglasses you could see bruising where she had obviously been beat up?
Yes, sir. I didn't want to intrude into her domestic life and her private life, and I said, how are things? She says, not very good. And I said, well, you mean here? Or she says, no, at home. And I said, what's the matter at home? She says, we're not getting along. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, does it get physical? And she says, definitely.
And that's the concern in here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about what Drew's attorney has had to say about this, and also talk to Lisa about the autopsy on Kathleen Savio.
It seems every other week another wife seems to be missing.
The women who are in a bad relationship, they just need to tell more people about it instead of keeping it inside.
It's easy to tell someone to get up and run. A lot of women would still be alive if they did, but I know it's difficult.
All of us have been following the headlines about the disappearance of Stacy Peterson. Her husband, Drew, has become the primary suspect in this case for a variety of reasons. And as you begin to dig and pull threads on this, a pattern seems to be emerging. Stacy was his fourth wife and not the first one with whom he had conflict. Now, I've talked to Drew Peterson on the phone. He would not talk to me on camera because his lawyer would not allow it. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the fact that he is playing the victim in this situation, and at no time when I talked to him, not one word of concern about his wife, not one word of concern about his children. He wanted to point to the fact that her mother had disappeared some 9 years ago, and he said her mother did it, and now she's doing it. There were dramatic differences in this situation. Her mother was addicted to alcohol. Her mother had lost 2 children, one to sudden infant death syndrome, another to a house fire. She had been in conflict with the law for shoplifting and different problems. There was a complete disparity between her history and that of Stacy as a mother, but that seemed to be lost on him. His attorney has a statement, and I'm going to give you the high points of this, and then you can go to the website and see it all. First, he wants to put out there that Drew denies abusing Stacy, Kathleen, or his girlfriend, Kyle, of 25 years ago. As to Stacy and Kathleen, Drew absolutely denies any physical abuse, but does acknowledge that he could be called somewhat controlling. However, this trait was no secret to either woman before they married Drew. He says they knew this. Now, for the full statement, you can go to drphil.com and we'll have it right there because I want to put out both sides of this whole situation. Tell me what's happening with the autopsy of Kathleen Savio at this point, and what do we know?
Well, her remains were exhumed. She was dug up, and Dr. Michael Bodden, who was the chief medical examiner for the city of New York for many years, a very highly respected forensic examiner, took a look. She was covered with bruises. Now, the story was that she drowned to death in a bathtub. A bathtub that was dry, by the way. Because it wasn't really looked at the time.
If somebody drowns in an empty bathtub, I guess you could assume that the water seeped out across time, but how did they explain the bruises? Who was doing this autopsy at the time?
This was not investigated at the time, Dr. Phil. This was ruled an accidental death. It was done. He was a police officer, and some say the police, the police organization needs to be looked at closely because something was wrong with that story. But now, head-to-toe bruises, clearly she was beaten. He says homicide.
Okay, at this point, the media has reported that there have been as many as 18 calls for help from the house. 911 calls, calling the police for help. Has the police force up there talked at all about why nobody ever did anything? Nobody ever took protective measures?
No, and there's an internal investigation going on right now about that because you can imagine Kathleen Savio having to call the police to report abuse by her husband, who's also a police officer. And this is a tragedy for a lot of women who report police abuse, by the way.
Do you believe there was a blue barrel? I
think that's a credible story. The stepbrother tells the story. Drew Peterson says, don't believe him, he's crazy. Well, the guy is bipolar. We all know that does not mean crazy. That does not mean delusional. He's been medicated, functioning effectively in society for the last 10 years. Apparently, after helping Drew Peterson lift the warm blue barrel into the SUV, the next day he attempted suicide. Now, was that from a grief-stricken conscience or was that from a mental disorder? I mean, we just don't know at this point.
I don't like to just talk about these things after the fact. So next, we're going to talk to a wife who says her husband threatened to kill her and bury her in the woods. She fears that she may be the next headline.
Chris went on a rampage. He put a hole through the wall with his foot. He slapped me across the face. He put his hands around my neck and tried to choke me.
I said, you better shut up now, or I'm gonna squeeze.
He said, I'm gonna bury your body in the woods where no one can find you. When I see stories on the news of women being murdered by their husbands, I feel that that could be me next.
Today we're talking about abusive relationships that can sometimes lead to deadly consequences. Drew Peterson is a suspect in the disappearance of his wife. Now, you can make up your own mind. We don't know what's happened to her, but what we do know is that there were serious problems before her disappearance that she reported to other people. My next guest, Amanda, is reporting that very same thing right here today. She thinks that her husband, Chris, could snap and kill her. He has choked her, slapped her, and threatened to bury her in the woods.
I am scared of dying at the hands of my husband. Chris has threatened to kill me. He said, I'm gonna bury your body in the woods where no one can find you.
Everybody has their breaking point. I don't care how cool and calm you think you are, everybody has their breaking point.
We got married for all the wrong reasons, got pregnant very fast.
And once we got pregnant and she moved in, it turned south pretty quickly.
When Chris is in a rage, all hell breaks loose.
I have broken light switches, remotes, and a coffee table that I smashed into pieces.
He has broken blinds in our house. He has broken Brooklyn's toys in front of her.
You can't control that kind of rage. I can't.
When Chris is angry at me, he is red in the face. His eyes are bulging out at me.
This was the last door that I kicked off. Busted the piece out. I cracked the molding right there. She locked me out of the bedroom and I kicked that door down.
He put his hands around my neck and tried to choke me.
I don't remember trying to squeeze the life out of her, but I do remember grabbing her by the throat, you know, kind of like, you better shut up now, or I'm gonna squeeze.
He's asked me several times, let's go camping alone. And I'm like, you're crazy, I'm not going camping with you. You're gonna bury me.
3 months after their marriage, Chris became extremely aggressive.
He went on a rampage. He put a hole through the wall with his foot. He broke a chair into pieces.
Got to the point where I felt like I had no other choice but to slap her, to get her to shut up, you know, and see it my way.
I had Brooklyn in my arms and he slapped me across the face. I left and then called the police.
Well, I felt ashamed when he was arrested, but I also wondered, what was it that got him to that point?
I got mad. I got really mad. I was like, you know, how dare she call the police on me for slapping her?
I moved out into his parents' house.
After she was here for a couple of months, I thought they should get back together. For Brooklyn's sake, she needs her mom and dad together.
I begged her to come back home.
I always come back to him. He tells me that things are going to be different, but they always go back to the same.
I still have urges or bad compulsive behaviors. And it's not that I choose to be a wife beater.
When I see these stories on the news of these women who are being murdered by their husbands, I feel that that could be me next.
Well, Amanda, I want to talk to you about this in a minute, but first, you don't trust yourself at this point, do you?
Well, when you're talking about it on that level, like that, of course, I don't want anything to happen like that, ever. But I do believe you beat a dog with a stick long enough and he's going to bite you. Did I miss it? Your question?
Are you the dog?
Sometimes I feel like the dog.
And define bite. How are you going to bite somebody?
Grab, slap, choke, push.
So you didn't come here to get help or change this. You came here to justify it? Is that it?
No.
Because
no,
you have said, tell me if this is right. She has said that you have said that you would bury her in the woods where nobody would find her.
I said something threatening like that to the victim of my assault and battery back in 2002, and I
honestly... But you didn't say that to your wife?
I don't believe I said that straight to her.
Did you say, I just want to bash your face?
I've said that.
Did you say that you grabbed her arm, you just wanted to crush the bone?
Violently, I've said that.
The only way to get Amanda to bow down was to slap her. It was just a shut-up slap.
I felt that way, yes, sir.
How do you feel about this?
It's hard.
Why are you there? Why are you subjecting yourself to this?
Brooklyn, my daughter, Brooklyn. She's the only reason I am there.
And you think you're protecting her by staying there to expose her to this violent presence in your home?
It's that I hear from his mom that we need to be together for her sake.
Okay, well, we're going to add the moms to the conversation when we come back because they both have a point of view, and you'll just have to guess who they're siding with. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Chris and I got into an argument. I thought by getting into the back of his truck that I would stop him. He took off with me in his truck.
I was going so fast that the right front wheel actually came up off the ground. I almost rolled that truck off that road that day with her in the back of the truck.
I was pregnant at the time.
I'll never forget that day that I almost killed her there.
Within the first half hour after meeting Chris, I just told her, honey, you need to run, not walk, but run away from this relationship. It does bother me that Chris's mother, Cheryl, wants to see Chris and Amanda stay together, even though she knows Chris is abusive.
I don't think he is abnormally violent at all. They need to stay together, stop fighting, get along, and make her a happy home. Amanda doesn't help calm things down, she makes things worse. If she went to the door and threw her arms around him, hi honey, I'm so happy you're home and have dinner ready, he'd be putty in her hands.
I worry every day that I'm going to see or read about my daughter in the news.
We're talking about how abusive relationships can take an ugly turn. I'm back with Amanda and her husband, Chris, and joining us are their mothers, Debbie and Cheryl. Debbie is Amanda's mother and fears that her daughter may be the next headline. Cheryl feels that her son, Chris, is provoked, that he's pushed. Clearly, they're on opposite sides of the fence. Are you a provoker?
At some points.
Are you a pusher?
At some points.
Do you escalate things to the point that it gets out of control and you wish you hadn't?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not working?
No.
Okay. Now, Cheryl, let me ask you, are you concerned about Amanda's safety?
I'm concerned about all their safety.
Are you concerned that your son may go too far?
I don't know.
Okay. Take a look at this piece of tape with us talking to Chris where he discusses the murder-suicide scenario. Well, just take a look and then we'll talk about it.
Maybe that's why you have families where there's murder, suicide, because as soon as they realize what they did, I would. I don't want to die. Honestly, I would like to tell myself that I would kill myself before I could ever kill Amanda. But if I'd ever killed Amanda, I would surely go right after. And then you're gonna have thoughts crossing your mind like, well, what about Brooklyn? Can't leave her by herself. That is probably the most horrible, terrifying thing that I've ever thought about in my whole life.
I had no idea.
Oh my God, Dad.
Cheryl, what you're thinking after watching that?
I'm shocked.
I'll ask you again. Do you trust yourself?
I do trust myself. That could never happen. And if it ever starts looking like that, then yeah, we need to split. We need to run. That is unacceptable. That is the first time in my life that I've ever been able to make that mental connection in my head about how a situation like that could happen.
You talk about making connections in your head, but you do justify to yourself things that you do to control her, does he not?
All the time. All the time. It's justification. I'm the one who pushes him.
And if you can justify one thing, you can justify another. Listen, as I said, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here. I want to help you. You can't be doing what you're doing unless you're feeling tremendous pain inside. You have to have some help and some relief from that before something happens here. I'm going to talk about what I think Amanda needs to do when we come back.
Chris told me a story of he would take the cat and tie him up and then beat the cat.
This one cat was so annoying. I went and duct taped his feet together, and one day I put him in the dryer and tumbled him a few times. Yeah, that was torture, you know, yeah, cruelty to animals.
There was a restraining order put against Chris that I could not see him, that he could not come near me and touch me.
If you get charged with domestic violence, they just straight slap you with the restraining order, because as soon as the husband gets out of jail, he goes and kills the wife.
Well, Amanda fears that her husband of 2 years could snap and kill her. He says, no, that is not true. I would not go there. I would stop before I did that. Listen, Chris, I am as at least concerned about you here as I am about Amanda and about the child. You don't want to wind up in jail for domestic violence. You don't want that to happen. You want this to stop. True? You've got to acknowledge that. And listen, this stuff about provoking the situation, that's dumb. You don't want to do that. That is not the way to resolve this. You don't want to get up on your hind legs and get in his face, because that's going to unravel on you. You don't want to do that. And this domestic violence can get bad. The president of NOW, the National Organization for Women, is here, Kim Gandy. And Kim, you deal with this all the time. This situation is a delicate one to get out of, correct?
It is, and it can be. It can be dangerous for her and for her child to escape a violent or potentially violent situation. In fact, after you leave a violent situation, it becomes even more dangerous. A woman is more likely to be murdered after she leaves, because she's taken herself outside of his control, and then he really loses it. And so
that's the time.
If you're going to leave, you've got to be really careful about how you leave.
You've got to have a plan. You've got to have protection. You've got to have things in place. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to, in detail on the website, with steps that you need to take to protect yourself. Hear what Kim just said. The danger is higher when you leave, because it brings everything to a crisis point, a panic point, a point of desperation. So there's got to be a plan, and we're going to detail all of that on the website, but I'll guarantee you it doesn't involve confrontation. It doesn't involve pushing, yelling, and screaming. It involves having a thoughtful plan that involves protection for everybody concerned. And I'm concerned for everybody involved here. We'll be right back. We're here talking about domestic violence, and we're talking about what can happen when it starts to melt down. Chris, do you think that your wife and daughter can predict a safe and peaceful existence with you? Do you think you can just go home and everything will be fine and safe and predictable?
I don't think she can.
Well, I agree with that. But I want to make something very clear here. I don't think your husband is an evil guy. I really don't. And it's easy to go hating on you, but I don't think you are an evil guy. I don't think you like yourself when you do this. But that doesn't make you any less injured or any less dead or your daughter any less impacted for what happens. Chris, I just think that you need some help here. I really do. I don't even think that this marriage is so far gone that it can't be repaired. I really don't think that. Maybe it is, I don't know. But I can tell you, I do not believe you are safe right now. And I think we have to talk about some things that we can do. Chris, I will make every resource available to you to help you deal with what's going on with you. And by the way, you're not all of the marriage problems here, but your volatility is what has to be focused on first here. Would you agree with that? Will you let me make some resources available to you to help you with that? Because you got to admit, I'm not kicking you here. I'm trying to help you, okay? Will you let me do that? I want to get you some help right now. I'm not going to take a month to do this. We need to do this right now so we can start moving this along. Will you help us and support in that? Because you've got to admit, I'm not dogging on your son here. I'm trying to help him. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Now, come on, be objective, Mom.
Well, you're dogging him a little bit.
Well,
yeah,
he needs some dogging.
Okay.
He needs some dogging, okay? You don't help him by being in denial. He's got to get some help here, and I'm offering it.
It's true.
And you realize that she's got to be safe, right, and protected.
She's got to be out of there right now.
I mean, that's what has to happen. All right. Kim, I'll let you do a little counseling backstage with these folks about some of the steps.
I'll do
need
that,
to
but
take
I would
place.
love for your listeners to know that there's a national domestic violence hotline that they can call to get this kind of information. It's
All right.
1-800-799-SAFE.
Okay, now you just heard that. You're seeing it right now, 1-800-799-SAFE. Okay? Go to drphil.com for more tips on leaving an abusive relationship and also for Attorney Joel Brodsky's full statement about the Drew Pearson situation. Very serious stuff. Think about it. Thanks for being here. So long.